You guys look like... What do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Get those birds! Nerds! Nerds!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What? Are you kidding? We got some family here. Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast, the official podcast of the Alamo Drafthouse, Winchester.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. Joining me is Brian Young, the Turtle Dork.
Hello, everybody.
And also joining us is his squeaky-ass chair.
Yeah. Like when I brought that chair out for Brian, I was like, this is not made for podcasting, but I have no other seats for his butt.
We're gonna make it work.
It's okay, because also joining us is Billy Das, the indie dork.
What's up, everybody?
Yay!
I have seats for your butt.
No, this seat, and it has a Star Trek cushion on it,
Yeah.
which is deflated in some places and not in others. I won't say which, but it works.
It was free.
Yay!
Does it feel free on your butt?
It does.
And also joining us is Lisa Gullickson, wife dork.
Does it feel free on your butt? I'm quoting myself.
No, that's a good quote.
Thank you.
And Brad Gullickson, mouth dork.
Pity is worse than a fist in the face.
Oh,
That's from Serenity.
Is it?
It's Jaimin Hansu's quote.
that's right. And I'm your host, Darren Smith, the Disco Dork. And welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast, not top 10 of 2019.
Pew, pew, pew. Pow, pow, pow.
Well, well, ladies and gentlemen, if we're doing a not top 10, that means we have come to the end of another year in cinema.
Are we excited about that? Are we glad that 2019 is over?
Yes.
Yeah.
I could use a clean slate. I have not been living well.
I was referring to movies, but
Oh,
I was looking forward to an entire new decade.
I'm interested in getting real right now.
hey, there we go. There we
Darren
go.
seemed pretty happy, like sad to see 2019 go.
I'm
You're
not
a little
gonna-
wistful.
I'm not going to say I'm sad. I watched a bunch of movies this year that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm excited about 2020. So I am, while I'm not sad to see 2019 go, I am excited to usher in some more movies of the coming year.
Yeah.
I think if you go back and you listen to our best of the summer episodes, our Fistful of Summer,
Yeah.
our Fistful of the Year so far, and our Fistful of Anticipation, you hear like a lot of like, well, 2019's been okay. It's all right. I'm waiting for some good movies. But then, honestly, when Fantastic Fest hit,
Yeah.
suddenly, like the fall for me saved 2019.
2019 seemed back heavy for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I could see that.
Yeah.
Well, when I was putting my list together, like my strat is to write down all of the movies that I've seen in one big long list and how my star review, like my star rating, how I feel about the movie right this second.
Yeah.
And then I just make a list of all of my 4 and 5 star movies, and I only had 17 this year.
4 and 5 star movies?
Yeah, like I couldn't populate my top 25 with just 4 and 5 star movies.
Same.
Which is a contrast to previous years.
Yeah.
So I did feel like the lag of the year in that, but at the same time, like putting my top 10 together, I'm like, yeah, I love these 10 films.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about my top 10.
But we're not here for the top 10, Lisa.
We're here for the not top 10.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
for those, the uninitiated or the confused, our not top 10 list is something that we put together ahead of our annual Dorkies, which is our version of our top 10 films of the year, our Academy Awards, our Oscars.
Yeah, suck it, Oscars. We got the Dorkies. We're going to put that Dorkies right in you, Oscar.
Oh, wow. All right. So because
the
we
dork
do
reference.
we do consume a lot
whale
of
penis.
films, and we do want to limit our list to top, our top 10. Sometimes there are films that just miss that top 10 list, and also there are films that probably would never have made it on the list anyway for because they did not meet our expectations or
Could we do like a round robin real quick
Yeah.
of how you put your top or your not top 10 list together?
Yeah.
And should we start with you, Darren?
Because I just mentioned that, yeah. So for me, my list will be a little different. So I And I'm not going to harp on the negative too much, but there were some films that I was excited for this year for one reason or another, and
Men in Black.
it just didn't. Oh my God!
Oh,
Yeah,
why
what?
would you don't break my heart like that?
Spoiler alert.
I just felt deflated like a balloon.
Spoiler alert, but he ain't wrong. But that's a good example. So my list, I'm going to alternate between films that I was excited about that, I found maybe didn't live up to expectations. But then I'll also have films on there that lived up to my expectations, but just weren't good enough to make the top 10. So that's how I'm going to do my particular list.
Yeah, for me, it's really kind of going to what we've done in the past a little bit. I kind of move away from like worst of, disappointing, or like negative talks around movies, and I really just kind of want to focus on movies that kind of just made it right outside of my top 10. Right now, because I'm always updating my letterbox with my favorite movies of the year. I have about 34 movies in there right now. So I'll just kind of go to haven't seen, so I don't know, like, after seeing those movies, if they would make it into my top 10 or if they may bump some stuff out that I would want to talk about. So
I feel like either at the beginning or the end of our top 10, I know that's a very inflated episode because we are so excited to talk about those films, but I do think we need to either begin or end with addendums, because there are also films that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, there's a whole like Little Women, Uncut Gems, 1917, Waves. There's a lot of movies that I want to see that could potentially make it into my top 10.
I still haven't seen Her Smell, and I've heard so many good things about
Do you
that
guys,
movie.
at the end of the year, do you find yourself still chasing the list of movies to make your list feel complete? Or do you
Yes.
Like I
accept
am.
what you have watched and make a list from that?
I feel like I'm chasing.
I'm
Yeah.
always
I do.
chasing, always chasing. If I have not watched every single film by next week, I am sad. I mean, if I have not watched Uncut Gems, 1917, Bombshell, Her Smell by next week, I'll be mad.
Sad puppy.
But guess what? Don't worry. I got
Well,
this.
I mean, you're gonna do it. I know you're gonna do it.
I
It's a
did
compulsion.
see Bombshell this past weekend,
Yeah?
so you might be okay.
Oh,
Wow! All right, Billy Dash, the indie dork. How are you compiling your list?
It's good. Just,
Um,
not
gonna make your top 10.
Not top 10.
I mean, my top 10 is I've gotten away from the habit of chasing movies to watch.
Okay.
I've still found over the last week instead of watching a TV show, let me watch a 2019 movie to catch up or something like that.
Yeah.
But my top 10 will be top 10. My not top 10 is more things that I've kind of really emotionally connected with that I wouldn't necessarily find space for in my top 10. That maybe aren't perfect, but resonated with me in particular in some specific way. So that's kind of the theme I'm going with. I feel like I got 6 good entries in that right now. I'm putting together the last 4 in my head.
we call that pulling a Brian.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know if you guys have seen Brian's work lately, but it's pretty fucking good. So
It is.
if this is his method, I'm
Hey.
gonna come off looking like a genius.
It
You
might
just wait and
work
see.
for you, Billy. It might work for you.
Wife dork.
Yes.
What is the method to your madness?
I put mine kind of together like a beat poem. I just feel my way
Of
through
course,
it, and
of
then when
course
I'm
you
done,
do.
it's just snaps. It's just snaps. I do have 2 films on here that are not distributed yet. So they're in that kind of nebulous space where I go like, it's a 2019 movie in my heart, but is it a 2019 movie in the world?
Ooh, that's a good question though. Is how many of you guys are you going theatrical release or are you going what you saw?
Well, we'll probably have this conversation again next week when
the
we
top
record our
10.
dorkies.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But I, like Lisa, I have at least one undistributed movie. I call it the humble brag pick.
Okay.
Generally, I don't put those films in my official top 10. They won't be in my dorkies. I go by Academy rules. But that's just me, and I don't care what you guys do. I'm freeing myself from caring about your list. You do you.
You seem very emotional about that choice still though.
I also want to avoid having favorites roll over.
No, I
like
agree.
Anna and the Apocalypse, I got to see it early.
Yeah.
But I don't want it on 2. So for me, that's just a way of like creating a delineating line for myself.
Yeah.
So
Well, but that's like my by the ways are One Cut of the Dead.
That's in my top 25 this year.
Tigers
Billy.
Are Not Afraid are movies that I have talked about extensively and loved, and I'm not putting them on my list this year. Even though I bet if I were to put those on my list, they'd be my number 1 and number 2 picks for 2019.
Well, those are the official rules. You should put them on your list.
there are no
So we
official
know that
rules.
your lists are invalid.
Weren't you just saying
What?
you were gonna not?
Sorry. I time traveled. I went back into old Brad mode.
That was ghosts of Brad's past.
It's also it's also interesting too because I know early in the year there was some great television like miniseries.
Yeah.
And
Don't spoil my not top 10, Brian.
oh, okay. Well, all I would say is like, well, for next week, because if we were including like miniseries that could be seen as movies possibly, then my number 1 would have already been.
Yeah.
You know.
To
I
me,
would've
our
had that.
official
you
theme is you do you.
You do you.
You do you. And yeah.
But I'm sticking to
You sticking to just movies?
traditional movies because I mean there was so many good miniseries that came out that
Mm-hmm.
I would consider like cinematic.
So
you know,
we
but-
know your favorite movie or your favorite thing of this year. Your favorite entertainment
Yes.
is When They See Us.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes, no
Let's
doubt.
just put that out there.
No, yes.
But When They See Us is not going to be in your not top 10?
I didn't even think about that.
Because guess what?
His eyes just lit up.
I know.
Something's in my not top 10.
Really?
That's not a...
Okay, because I was sticking to like traditional movies and okay, all
We
right,
should have a
interesting,
drinking
Brad.
game of every
Interesting.
time Brad brings up Primal. We should all take a shot.
God damn it, Lisa! Stop spoiling my list.
Okay, we're still talking about me and my list.
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
not
sorry.
forget the round
No,
robin thing.
you're talking about the Nicolas Cage movie, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
That movie is a lot.
I started it.
I just end that sentence right there.
In terms of my order,
Yeah.
I noticed that, and I mostly went positive. I went with films that I'm ending 2019 still wanting to talk about for some reason. But I did notice that of my films I am still churning through and processing and wanting to talk about, 5 of them are devastating. So I alternated like happy, fun, not devastating, and then let's crush your heart.
Oh.
Maybe only slightly morose. I'm killing your soul.
Oh, Jesus.
So that's my list. You have that to look forward to.
All right. What about you, B?
I think I'm going with the method that Brian and Billy were talking about. These are not necessarily films that would make my top 10 or even my top 25, but they're films that I'm still excited about months after watching them or days after watching them. They're films that I'm interested in. You know, a couple years ago, I would include my least favorite films of the year. I would talk about Dark Phoenix. I'd talk about Men in Black. But where I am right now, and I think where film Twitter is right now, I don't want to celebrate the bad, or I don't want to like take dumps on anyone. I don't want to punch down. I just want to talk about the things that I like and share with others.
Okay.
But no judgment on those who are punching down.
Oh, well, you'll see when I do mine. It's not even punching.
Aaron has never struck me as a punch down kind of person, even when he's talking about shit that he doesn't like.
Yeah, because I'm too short. So normally I'm punching up. I'm always punching up. I'm always fighting people bigger than me. Anyway, Brian.
Yeah. and we should say, because we're already rambling a lot,
Yep.
this is going to be a 2-part episode.
Yeah.
So you're listening to part 1 right now, as you know, because you just downloaded the episode, or it's in your feed. And we're going to do selections 10 through 6.
Yep.
And then we'll do another episode of 5 through 1.
For the record, I'm doing my 1 through 5 this episode. And then my 6 through 10.
Are
The
you?
notes I made
Yeah.
are 1 through 5. I'm gonna wing 10 through 6. I'm winging it.
You're winging it.
I'm winging it.
All right.
All right.
This is how Brian did it.
Yeah.
Back
yeah.
on day 1. I remember that episode.
Yeah, man.
Back in day 1.
All right. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, Brian, start us off. For your not top 10 of 2019, what is your number 10?
Okay. 10 is relative because, it's just a countdown. But my number 10, oh, man, I'm going to do the number thing, which is going to confuse everybody.
Don't do that shit.
I'm sorry, Lisa, because I know
I'm
that.
gonna know because I'm doing it too. So
Okay, so this is a movie that just came out, and me and Darren have talked about this extensively, and we always say that this director gets a lot of shit, and I never know why.
You know why.
I do know why. Six Underground.
Yeah.
Just premiered on Netflix. So on my official list as of right now, which is still in fluctuation mode, it's 32 on my official list. So this is be the 10th movie I'm gonna talk about. But Michael Bay, I think he kind of gets a bad rap, and me and Darren have talked about this, like leading up to Six Underground. The Transformer movies, I think he really gets a bad rap. But if you look at his filmography outside of the Transformer films,
There's at least 2 good Transformers movies.
1.5. Actually, I like
Actually,
Damn.
well, for me, I'm sorry. You may like, you probably like. No,
So are you pro Michael Bay?
That's what you get for interjecting.
no, but you're right. I like the first movie, and I
Yeah.
like the first half of the second movie.
Oh, that's not no. I like the first movie.
Okay.
And I like all of Dark of the Moon.
The third one's
With
kind of
Leonard
fun.
Nimoy?
Yeah, the Leonard Nimoy one.
Yeah.
The Needs of Many.
But I like the second one up until the forest scene when
And all the
Prime-
racist shit.
No. But it's
The forest scene's great.
yeah.
There's good stuff in Revenge of the Fallen.
But after that second half is garbage. But I don't know, man. Like, I think what Michael Bay is doing with Six Underground is like he's really like going back to like early in his career, like stuff like The Rock, the original Bad Boys
Agreed.
films. I've always said I do like The Island. I know a lot of people aren't really big on The Island.
Island's good.
I like that movie, but and this movie I think probably is his most violent film.
Dude, the first 20 minutes.
It's just insane, and like you say, just with that first 20 minutes,
Dave
I think-
Franco, yo.
yeah, Dave Franco, man. I think Michael Bay is really trying to make a statement with the way he opens this film. It's just like, these directors hear the criticisms around like their filmography or their style or their whatever it is that they do. Michael Bay just kind of doubled down on that, and I like the fact that he did that unapologetically.
I saw somebody put a shitty tweet out there. You know that meme, like, I'm going to tell my kids this is this, right?
Yeah.
I saw somebody put,
So
I'm going to
annoying.
tell my kids this was auteur filmmaking, and it was the set photo of him with the microphone and the fucking helicopter in the background.
It
And I
is
was like,
auteur
it is auteur
filmmaking.
film theory, because that motherfucker's in Criterion Collection twice, number one.
Yeah,
And
he
number
paid his
two-
way in, first off.
Well, but
okay.
number two, like, that dude makes the movies that he wants to make, and
Yes.
he does it the way that he wants to do it, and that is his style,
And he
uncompromised.
succeeds. He gets money back.
and his films when you see them.
I think that's the defining thing of an
That's-
auteur
yep.
filmmaker.
Yeah.
If you watch that film and you see that
One frame.
filmmaker's signature all over it, that's an
People
auteur
who take
film.
a dump on Michael Bay are the same people who take a dump on Rob Liefeld's art. Here's the thing. You may not like Rob Liefeld's giant Captain America tit, photo,
Yeah.
but you know that's Rob Liefeld.
Yeah.
Like, that's art, man.
Absolutely, and I appreciate him for doing that and basically just kind of giving like the big middle finger to all his haters. And kudos to Netflix for giving him that budget and letting them. And Netflix has that reputation
got a
for
lot of
just
money.
for giving their filmmakers free reign, whether it's Scorsese with The Irishman or next year Zack Snyder with Army of the Dead.
But here's the thing: like, they give you a Bright, they give you a Six Underground, but then they give you Marriage Story and The Two Popes and The Irishman. Like,
Yeah,
It's
this
balanced.
this is the year for me where Netflix is like, yo, we're legit.
exactly. And I think
It's
that's
still
why-
not cinema, Billy.
Yeah, but I think that's why you see a lot of filmmakers starting to go there because they don't have to be tied down by the studio system with all these notes, and they could just make, and for good or for bad, they can make the movie that they want to make. And I think Michael Bay made the movie that he wanted to make. And I don't love everything about the film, but there is a lot that I do like about it, and I appreciate it.
And
about
he's
that
a
film.
crazy film freak. He
Yeah.
casts really interestingly.
He
like Melanie Laurent.
I know, like
She's
Shoshana,
great in it.
and now you're doing this. Like that's Yeah, that's interesting, man. So
And she's great in it.
She's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and I love Corey Hawkins, and it's a cool movie, man. It's a really cool.
If it
movie.
only didn't star Ryan Reynolds.
Oh,
don't
come
hate.
on.
Brad is having some kind of crazy Ryan Reynolds backlash.
What did he do to you?
He made Deadpool.
Oh my god.
I don't like those movies.
Oh man, I can get with you on the second one, but I really like that first one.
What, Billy? I'm gonna cut their mics off and pass it on over to you. What is your number 10 and they're not top 10 of 2019?
Oh my God. This is going to be the longest episode.
Holy shit. So, it's funny. I am following in Brian's footsteps. My number 10 of my not top 10 list for 2019 is also a driving action movie that was a lot of fun to watch.
Okay.
Stuber.
Yeah.
I never saw
Did you
that.
see Stuber?
I did see Stuber.
I still haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Me neither.
So I ignored that movie kind of when it came out. I really wasn't sold on the concept of an Uber driver action movie.
Yeah.
But my wife and kids were out of town, and I was like, fuck, I got some time on my hands. I'm going to put on Stuber. And I loved the ever-living shit out of that movie. It was, I think, one of the most fun times I had watching a movie the entire year. It's amazing.
Really?
And it's hilarious. Really? Yes. And I was invested in what was going on.
I told you
with
when
it.
I reviewed, I
I
did on Weekend
remember.
Dork. Like, I had fun with it.
All right.
I was
Like,
surprised.
just like the charisma of Kumail Nanjiani.
Who now looks like Dave Bautista?
And
Ironically.
Dave
Holy shit.
What the hell, Lisa, happened to your guy?
The MCU did.
Yeah.
Shit.
He got swole.
He did get swole, and I wish that it was my job to get swole because it's. How about Wife Dork Swole 2020? I don't have that kind of time.
You just
You
need to
just
be part of a
gotta-
$200 million
Yeah, you
project
just gotta
and have a
That's
you
studio
gotta
right.
get
pay for it.
hired by MCU. You just gotta get the MCU to hire you.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
what is my in?
But watching Dave Bautista's character, who's like the gruff cop who commandeers Kumail Nanjiani's Uber vehicle, and you think, oh well, he's concerned about his star rating, and I don't know if that's gonna work, but it does work. And like Kumail's character's got some heart to it, Dave Bautista's character's got some heart to it, and the action in that movie fucks. Like it is good. When there's a fight scene with Iko Uwais in this movie, like
What?
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
I remember
He's like
that.
the main
You did
henchman
tell me
now.
that.
Yeah, he's the main heavy in the end of the movie. He fights Dave Bautista. Like this movie, if you didn't pitch it as an Uber driver comedy buddy cop movie to me, and you pitched it as like a gruff cop action movie, you could almost still watch it and show up and appreciate the action in this movie as much as you appreciate the comedy. It's a lot of fun, and I think enough people didn't go and see it. I certainly undervalued it when I saw the trailers for it. I was like, but man, don't sleep on this movie. Go watch it. It's great.
Oh, I want to see it now.
All right. Wife Dork.
Yes.
I need to know your number. 5, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is my number 1.
Oh, okay.
But on my top 25, it's my number 39.
Oh, God.
This is awesome. I love
Okay.
this.
And I always start my not top 10 with a film that I saw recently that I want to talk about, but because we're doing these special episodes, we're not having a Weekend Dork.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about The Two Popes.
Well,
I'm
I
excited to see this.
had not heard anything about that. I didn't know it existed until you posted the other day that you saw it or were going to see it or something like that. What the hell
I
is
went
it?
into this movie thinking that Jude Law was in it because he's doing a
from
Pope
the
thing.
Yeah, he's at the HBO show.
HBO show.
Yeah, he does the HBO show. So I was like excited, but I'm still excited to see Jonathan Pryce and Anthony Hopkins play current Pope Francis, and Pope Emeritus, as he likes to be referred to, Pope Benedict XVI. So this
Price is Francis, and Hopkins is
Yes.
Emeritus.
Is this like a buy?
No.
no, it's like a Pope fan fiction.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh,
So what
okay.
happened in 2012? So here's like you all
Catholic
know.
history.
Grown up, I grew up Catholic. Still very immersed in the culture. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yay.
Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah, too. Also, I'm not a monster. But growing up, pretty much my whole life, John Paul II was the Pope like the whole time, the whole time. And then he passed away, and I don't know exactly what year, but it feels like Pope Benedict the 16th was the Pope for like a hot second. And I remember when Pope Benedict was made Pope, there was scandal attached to him, as there is everybody who is in the Catholic Church. Except for my parents. They're still great. Scandal-free. But I was vaguely aware, and he's German. He's very into doctrine. People love to throw around the word Nazi.
I mean, he's German of an age and into doctrine.
Yeah, so there we go. So there were certain sects of people who were super excited that Cardinal Ratzinger was becoming Pope, and then there were people who were just like womp womp, following John Paul II.
And he was only Pope
like, as soon as he died, everybody across the board was like sainthood, you know.
Right.
So it felt like a very political move, and then I think in like 2012, Pope Benedict was like, I don't want to be Pope anymore, which is weird because it's an
Does that
office.
normally happen?
No, you're Pope until you're dead, and
You're
like
God.
picks you.
Yeah.
So like if like for you to go like, you know what? Turns out I don't want this. Did God make a mistake? Who screwed up? You know what I mean?
Was that unprecedented? Was he the
No,
first?
it's not unprecedented,
Okay.
but
It's been a few hundred years.
it's
I was
been a
gonna
while.
say, yeah.
It's been a few moons since that happened, and it was like very weird.
And who plays him in the movie?
Anthony
So that's
Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins.
Okay.
And then Pope Francis was Franconi Bergoglio, who is a Jesuit. So Jesuits are like the philosopher hippies of the Catholic world, and so this was like a 180 from the doctrine obsessed, traditional Tridentine Pope Benedict. And so that's as much as I knew going into this film, because while, you know, Catholic, don't care that much.
Oh.
And so when I watched this movie, I kind of expected it to be like vilifying one and glorifying the other. But the result was actually humanizing both. They're both people with scandal in their past of different degrees. I don't want to spoil the movie for those of you who haven't seen it. One definitely worse than the other. But they both came across as like really, like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, the church came out on like against this film, but I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow low-key paid for it, because I came away going like, they are just people.
I just like those dudes.
One of them loves to play the piano. One of them just wants to watch football. Like, one of them wants to eat pizza. One of them, you know, like.
Oh man, there is a Anthony Hopkins eating pizza shot.
That is so gnarly.
So good.
There was really some character work in that bite of pizza. But like, it came down, and it wasn't secular or humanist. It was going like, these are two people who are going through a spiritual transformation, and they both have to accept things about themselves. And so I really enjoyed this movie. I give it 3.5 stars.
Okay. They recreate the Sistine Chapel
From scratch.
From scratch. I thought they were in Vatican City.
Whoa, really?
I was like, how are they getting these shots? These are not blue screen.
Did they?
Because there's really strict rules about from videoing, making movies in a Catholic church.
You can't take photos of it.
You can take photos of it.
Well, I mean, but you can't
You can't make movies in there.
Yeah. And it's astonishing how they recreate it. It's an amazing set.
And it's worth it. And they just find excuses to do scenes in there.
Yeah.
That Netflix money, yo.
So it's a real. So they built that set.
They built
From scratch.
the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah.
Recreated all of the art.
That's
I mean, but it's not like they painted
No,
it.
they
got-
Xeroxed it and they put it up, but it looks
yeah,
like
but
it looks like a painting.
It looks stunning.
It
I
looks
think the
like they're there.
performances of both Jonathan Pryce and Anthony Hopkins, of course, they're amazing.
I mean, Hopkins is good. Hopkins is doing like the Hopkins thing. Price, I think, is like give this dude an Academy Award.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's easier to play the saint than the sinner.
Wait, so is this a Netflix movie? It's not in the theater?
Yeah, it's on
Yeah,
Netflix.
it's on Netflix.
Oh, you saw it, Brian?
No, I'm about to watch it, but it just came out Friday?
Yeah, Friday.
This past
Yeah.
Friday. Yeah.
Okay.
So no Jude Law. So that's why it's number 39. I'm joking. I really enjoyed it. I recommend it. I don't know if I necessarily learned a lot, considering I don't know how much in fact this is based, but I enjoyed the story.
It's fictional, but like it's fun to put those two actors in a room playing those roles. And it's in my 25. I liked it more than Lisa.
Who doesn't want to consider, like, vocation is something, whether you're secular or not, something that you consider. Like, am I following my true path? Like, what are the signs I'm looking for? Like, how am I supposed to know?
Even if you're Pope, you're still human, and you still deal with all the same things that we do, which is, like a no-duh statement. But it's something that has, I don't think, really ever been properly explored in this way cinematically.
I had a question about the filmmaking. Now, I heard some reviews about this movie because it's kind of like a walking and talking movie.
Yeah.
But now I heard
it's
sometimes...
before sunset with popes.
Yeah, but I heard that sometimes...
Less annoying.
I heard that sometimes the filmmaking can kind of get in the way because it's a movie that's really just kind of supposed to be walking and talking.
I
went into this movie expecting to play on my phone, and I mean, I found myself really
engaged.
We call that Brad's picked the movie. I'm gonna play threes.
Juice Law's not in this.
Snooze.
But is it just letting the actors perform, or do you feel like the filmmaking gets in the way?
There are some beautiful, like we said, there is the Sistine Chapel. That's a lot of look.
There's flourishes to the filmmaking.
They walk through the Vatican gardens.
To me, it's a lot of the flashback stuff and how they handle flashbacks, I think, is
I
cool.
always forget flashbacks.
Okay. So that worked. Okay.
I think it looks nice. Okay. I like it.
All right.
I did. I enjoyed it.
What about you, Brad? What's your number 10 and your not top 10?
My number 10 in my not top 10 is a film that I avoided for most of the year and had very little interest in watching it until I learned how they made it. And honestly, it's the filmmaking that inspires me more than the film itself. It's Jon Favreau's The Lion King. I finally watched the movie.
Yeah.
It's so fine. Like, it's okay.
Not the end of the world, right?
It's not the end of the world. It's not terrible. If I had never seen The Lion King, it would be interesting. Right. I think the photorealistic animals are a little stodgy, are a little emotionless. I don't feel like the voice performances necessarily match the action that you are seeing. But all that being said, it is gorgeous. Yeah. It's unbelievable that it is primarily all built within a computer. I'm not just talking like, what was that Sandpiper Pixar short where you're like, wow, look at the grains of sand. It looks like grains of sand. I mean, everything looks like it's photoreal. Now, some of the animated animals don't necessarily feel photoreal all the time, but to me, it's what needs to be celebrated, or at least what needs to be considered, is how it was built digitally, but not from like one fixed camera shot. They built the sets digitally, and then they used VR headsets to dive into those sets and then determine what the shots were going to be. And that they would press play on the actions of the characters, the digital characters, and then they could improvise on the fly where the camera was. So they could choose dolly sets. They could choose, camera angles. They could choose, well, I don't like that color of that sky, so we've got 380 skies to choose from. Let's pick that sky. Well, if we're going to shoot by this Pride Rock, I actually don't want to shoot right by the rock. I want to shoot 100 feet from the rock where that tree is. And if we're going to shoot by that tree, then I want to shoot from a low angle on that tree. And they could do that all in the moment. And I don't think the audience really understands what's happening in the filmmaking of The Lion King. And I still don't quite understand Yeah, Billy.
This is fascinating to me.
Yeah,
So,
it's
there's-
just essentially shot in a virtual diorama.
It is shot. It is shot.
When they're doing the camera work, there's guys with effectively what's like an Oculus mask on, walking around with control to pick their shots and do their cinematography.
Or they're in a warehouse. That they do it that way. Or they're in a warehouse and they have a guy with a digital Steadicam that has no camera, but that acts like a camera. And as it moves through the warehouse, it's mapped
to the
digital set. And Jon Favreau's looking at a screen of what that Steadicam is picking up.
Right. So you still have that cinematographer-director relationship of looking for the shot.
And who's the cinematographer on this movie but Caleb Deschanel, who shot The Natural and The Right Stuff. And that film that was nominated for an Academy Award last year, the German movie, I want to say It's Never Let Go. I can't remember. But he had never shot anything digitally. So they get this guy who is a master of light to operate within a digital world. And he is, moving within it. They're not all looking. It's not one animator looking at a screen with a mouse.
Right.
It is being shot.
Because
in
other digital movies, you have animated artists who are creating that scene and that
frame by
focus and that
frame, pixel by
animation.
pixel.
Right. And this is not that.
That's not that. So, like during the stampede sequence of the bison or whatever the hell those water buffalo are, they can put the camera in the middle of the stampede. They can put the camera on the top of a rock. They can put the camera in the sky. Yeah. They can put the camera in the ground. And then they hit play on the stampede and they shoot it from all angles. And if they miss with the digital camera the entire tracking shot of that stampeding water buffaloes,
they just rewind it.
They can rewind it, or they can go like, actually, that mistake looks kind of cool. Let's keep that mistake.
You know what? Go ahead.
You go.
So this sounds like there's a mode in Grand Theft Auto called Director Mode, right? So Grand Theft Auto is when you load the game up, it's a fully realized city of Los Santos. And you can drive around it, go up a building, jump off an airplane, land it. So you go to the skyscraper, you can see for miles this actual city. You can go, if you can see it, you can go there, right?
Yeah.
And you can do objectives or whatever, and like the movie Free Guy that Ryan Reynolds is in. Or there's a director mode where you can do what you're saying. Like, I mean, you're at your TV, but you can take a camera and put it like at a low angle, and you can press play and make a car drive by and run into a building, or you can put that camera on the car. You can put that camera in the building that it's running into. You can put that camera anywhere you want, but it's within this virtual 3D environment.
Yeah, the sandbox.
Yeah, and it sounds like they're doing that to like the umpteenth degree.
So this is the first time this has ever been done.
Yeah.
And like Jon Favreau didn't do it this way with The Jungle Book. And what The Lion King means for our future is tremendous.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And when you look back at 2019 and you go, what was the most significant movie? It might be The Lion King.
And we won't know. I don't think people will realize that until the next couple of years when the Fantastic Four are in space and we have like these realistic otherworldly environments with stupidly ridiculous camera angles. And we go, how the hell did they do that? And I guarantee you it's going to be tied in some way to this technology.
Well, it brings the human element to the AI world. And I think that's what's really going to matter.
Yeah. Does that bum you out for the future of cinema?
Well, what is the future of cinema,
That's
right? You know, like I think I mentioned this on a Weekend Dork a little while ago or not, but I went to the Shenandoah University with Leonard Maltin and Jesse Maltin. Andy Garrison of the Alamo Winchester set that all up, and we played around with VR filmmaking.
Oh, interesting.
And I posed that question to Leonard Maltin, and I was like, what does this mean for movies? Will movies still be movies? And Leonard Maltin's response was, looks like a good time for storytellers.
Agree.
So, there you go.
Interesting.
It's like when, sound is introduced to cinema. Like, does sound ruin cinema? It just evolves. It just changes.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say something negative.
Oh.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, like, for everything that you said, and it's wonderful, and the future of movies is so bright. Like, to me, like, you're pointing at, like, look at all of the amazing ingredients they had. And I'm going, like, well, it was a still bland-ass meal.
Yeah.
It was not delicious.
It was not.
The Lion King movie itself, or the idea of that
It was
technology.
Blandy McBlandtown. The idea of that technology is amazing. We know Disney has the moolah to make an amazing film. So like to me, like
to have that technology and then
to
take
suck the joy out of
The
a
Lion.
musical,
Yeah.
like it just makes me sad.
I guess I don't know. It's interesting. I'm not surprised that they picked The Lion King as the project to push that technology and do that experiment.
I mean, it was a very significant movie at the time that it was made.
Honestly,
and the narrative around it has only grown since it was on Broadway, and I think that so much has been added to Lion King that is so invaluable storytelling wise.
Here's where The Lion King fails for me is when they go, I want to do this photoreal with photoreal lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. What they should have done was use this technology and embrace the cartooning quality of it as well. Sure. Kind of like what you saw with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where it's embracing like Spider-Man says, we've been living with 20 years of Pixar formula.
Yeah.
Like all the animation kind of looks the same, and is reaching for a 3D presence. And Spider-Man's like, well, let's play with frame rate. Let's play with dimension. We don't have to embrace 3D. We can embrace 2D.
Yeah.
And so let's take that idea of proper cartooning and apply it to an AI VR technology.
I guess it depends on. I mean, like I think Disney. I like Disney. I like the idea of Disney's goals being embracing the animation and finding a way to bring that classic sense to the future with different technology. I think that's a great goal. I would love that artistically. I suspect Jon Favreau's goal and Disney's goal is the mega corporation is they're thinking about the Marvel properties. They're thinking about the Star Wars properties, like the lessons that they learned shooting the Rogue One battle sequence above Scarif, and then thinking about the Lion King and the technology they can do with that. And then what that will do for the rest of their IP, which makes it more like corporate IP driven in terms of the development of the technology. And they picked the Lion King because everybody fucking loves that show, and they'll sell enough tickets to offset the production budget to do the experiment.
Yeah. But to me, it just sucks the whimsy out of it. Like,
sure.
It's not. They didn't make the Lion King look the way that it looked because nobody knew how to draw a lion.
No, the technology doesn't suck the whimsy out of it. What sucks the whimsy out of it is very bland creative point of view.
Yes.
Sorry, Jon Favreau.
Yes.
Well, all right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get carried away.
I like
It's
Chef.
okay.
That is Jon Favreau, right?
I'm a huge fan of Iron Man 2.
Okay.
Yay!
Iron Man 2 is great.
Yep. All right. My number 10 is Brad. You actually mentioned it already. It was you took your quote from it. It's Serenity. It's a movie.
Still haven't seen it.
So this is my one of my picks that a movie that I just found I didn't love it. I didn't think it was great, but I've thought about it frequently throughout the year, but just because of how nuts it was. It's a movie that kind of stuck with me. This movie stars Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway, and also, as Brad mentioned, Jaimin Hansu. And I'm going to take this from IMDb. It says, a fishing boat captain juggles facing his mysterious past and finding himself ensnared in a reality where nothing is what it seems. I'll leave it at that. Anne Hathaway is someone, a woman from his past that comes to him and asks him for a favor. It's in the trailer, actually. She wants him to kill her present and abusive husband. And so he's mulling over whether or not to do this for this woman that at one point he has shared a relationship with, all the while piecing together the nature of his reality. And the reason why I can't stop thinking, well, not can't stop. The reason why I think about this movie periodically and why it's on my list is because with the reveal of the movie, like the twist or whatever you want to call it, is so nuts and out there that I don't know, like just the audacity of Stephen Knight, who's the director. Is that his name? Yes, Stephen Knight. Because outside of this left turn, you could have the movie play out as it is before this twist that really doesn't have anything to do. I mean, the movie could be what it is without this twist, and it'll just be like your typical, like, thriller or whatever, dramatic thriller. But it introduces this crazy twist that I didn't see coming. But when I was watching it, I wasn't sure how I felt about, do I like this? Is this okay? But in retrospect, I kind of appreciate the movie for doing something different in this way. I just want to say, like, it's nuts. Like, that's all I want to say. Like, it's nuts. If you haven't had it spoiled, I would say it's worth checking out. As always, Matthew McConaughey's great. Anne Hathaway's, she's fine in it. Jason Clarke is also in it. He's the abusive husband, and he's an asshole. But
so nailed it.
Yeah, and so, but yeah, and Jaimin Hansu's great as Matthew McConaughey's. What do you call it? When you have a boat, is it your skipper, your best hand, your best
Your
mate,
lover.
or whatever? Probably that. He's great in it. But yeah,
His
so
bottom.
I would definitely recommend checking it out just to see, because I want to discuss. I would like to discuss the movie with more people. Because that left turn is freaking nuts.
It's on Amazon Prime.
I gotta watch it.
I haven't. I mean, I know the twist, but
I would ask you to watch it, but you still got to check out Hellboy, and that's never happening. So I know you're never going to check Serenity out.
I'm gonna check it out.
Okay, all right.
And Hellboy, I'll do that.
Okay, all right. With that, you're number 9.
Oh man. Okay, so my number 9 is a movie I just saw recently and I really enjoyed, but I don't think it may go over well here in the Dork Cave. Maybe.
Oh shit.
But
Uh-oh.
and there's a lot of controversies around
Oh,
this
dry
movie.
mouth even. Nervousness.
A little nervous. No. It's Clint Eastwood's latest, Richard Jewell.
I still haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it, but I'm interested to see it. Yeah.
Man, well, I know about this story because I lived in Atlanta for about a year because my mother took a job because she was going to work the Olympics. And we ended up moving back up to Maryland because I didn't want to be in Atlanta. And I remember this story specifically because 96 is when this happened because that's when the Olympics were in Atlanta. Yeah. That was my senior year of high school. And I remember hearing this on the news because then my mother replied. She was like, yeah, it was probably good that we moved back up north. And I remember seeing Richard Jewell on TV and stuff like that. So I remember this story very prominently because of that specific Olympics and the fact that we moved down to Atlanta for the Olympics. I think my mother was working in like public relations and stuff like that. But so this story, Paul Walter Hauser, who was in Black Klansman, he was great in I, Tonya, stars as the titular character, and I think he's phenomenal.
I mean, it's perfect casting.
Yeah, and he's really good. There's a moment in the movie where they actually show real footage of Richard Jewell on TV. So, in the movie, his mother is watching him because Katie Couric interviewed the real Richard Jewell. So when she's watching him on TV, they actually show the real interview that Katie Couric had. And when you listen to him talk and then watch Paul Walter Hauser portray him, it's uncanny. Like, literally. So I think it's a really, really great performance that is probably going to go under the radar. A lot of people are not going to talk about it. I think the film, for Clint Eastwood, I know he hasn't made a really good film. The Mule is a problematic movie. I know.
Problematic? I just call that straight trash.
Oh, wow.
Well, he has, apart from his politics.
Yeah.
He has a slapdashiosity with his filmmaking that makes
Slapdashiosity.
Just put the baby doll in there.
Dude's
It'll be
sloppy.
fine.
He's sloppy.
Yeah.
One take.
We got it.
Yeah.
Cabbage Patch.
And I guess one of the big.
Did you notice?
It's pretty straightforward filmmaking in this. Like
No
I
Cabbage Patch dolls.
I didn't sense any of that. I mean, I haven't
no
really,
community theater vibes.
no. But I haven't seen a lot of Eastwood's most most films.
Yeah,
so
because
I'm
why
not,
would you?
God bless you for it.
You know, but even with that being said, there's some controversy that's been around this movie, and I wanted to watch the movie and see how it was handled because Olivia Wilde has come out about the portrayal of her character and how her character Kathy Scruggs got certain information because she was the one that leaked the story. And, the idea that she would trade sex for information and, the journalistic integrity of that and how she approached the movie. She says, I didn't approach it in that way because she was supposed to have this type of flirtatious sexual relationship with this FBI agent. So, and that's when you have to put trust into your filmmaker, Clint Eastwood, unfortunately. And it seems like he kind of betrayed that trust, because watching the movie, that particular scene, it does come off as transactional sex. And it's extremely problematic in the movie. And the thing that really bothers me about it is the fact that you didn't need, you could have literally took out 2 lines of dialogue, not have that in there, and the movie would have been the exact same thing.
The person is real who has passed away and cannot defend herself.
She's passed away. She can't defend herself. And the fact that this movie is talking about somebody who was wrongly accused, and yet the movie itself is causing character assassination to this lady who's not here to defend herself.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
It's troubling. But with all that being said, looking at the movie as a whole, I still think it's a really good movie. But that one scene, I saw it and I was just like, yeah, no, this doesn't work.
Did they run the story though that kicked off the Richard Jewell fervor? Did it?
That character, yes. I mean, there is a. Yeah. I mean, you know, this is a movie where Clint Eastwood is going after the media.
Because the media like they destroyed that dude's life.
Yeah, and there's
the FBI and the media,
right?
Yeah.
That's just. It's just maybe. I mean, I haven't watched it, but it's just maybe how he goes about tearing down the media.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
and
Okay.
because I mean, I don't know. Like I said, we don't know because Kathy Scruggs is no longer here, so she can't defend herself. But yeah, I just think it was.
But you'd recommend watching the movie?
Yeah, I mean, for anything like the performances.
Should we add it to our to watch list before next week?
I wouldn't put it as a high priority. I mean, right now for me, because I really enjoyed the film and the performance, I have it like 27.
Okay.
That dude's performance in I, Tonya, I think is one of the most underrated performances of the decade. It is amazing. And when I saw that they cast him, that's literally why I want to watch the movie. Like, I know the Richard Jewell story, but his work in it, I want to see it.
Oh, absolutely.
I think he's great.
Yeah.
I think that he's found a niche.
Yeah, which I wanted, because he seems like he's a really good actor, and I want to see him do a little bit something outside of the doofus kind of character.
but
he plays it so he plays it well. He plays it really well. But I mean, he's a talented actor. He does great work in this movie. So yeah, Richard Jewell.
All right. Indie dork. Are there any indies on your list? What's your number 9?
I would say, I mean, it will be few and far between in the 20 movies or things that I talk about for that will be blockbusters or mainstream movies. Most of the things that I picked, I think almost my entire top 10 you could categorize as independent film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm trying to live up to it. It's not actually that fucking hard. Those are movies I like. I mean, it's not an act.
No brainer.
So speaking of that, though, my number 9 pick for my not top 10 of movies that I feel like have kind of got short shrift and ones that I really had a wonderful experience watching, Satanic Panic. By Chelsea Stardust.
Heard of it.
Yeah, I mean, the story is that a young woman winds up in the wrong spot at a house that's performing a satanic ritual, and then she's going to become the sacrifice to their dark lord so that they can continue to be profitable and win in capitalist America.
Oh, okay.
And then their would-be sacrifice fucks shit up.
Whoops.
And it's a lot of fun. I don't know. I heard before I watched it, I heard a lot of negative takes on the movie, and for people who didn't connect with it and found it to be kind of uninspired. And that was sort of what I went into. I was like, I want to watch it because I like to see for myself. But I had very low expectations, and I had a blast watching it. And I think some of the death gags that they have in it were great. There's a kildo in the movie, which is a killing dildo. And it is a full-on, strap-on, giant fucking kildo.
All right.
That's like all of Billy's things in one implement.
Look how red Billy is right now.
He's excited.
No, that's excitement, not embarrassment. Don't misconstrue it.
Are you sure this is your number 9?
Yeah. I'm sure. I feel pretty good about it. I mean, the movie has some issues. There's some here and there's. Like I could pick nits with it and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun with it. I think it's extremely playful and it's a satisfying watch. And you get to the end and there's a gag at the end that I just thought was adorable and vicious and hilarious. And
Did you see this at a festival or was it?
I missed it at a festival, and so I had a lot of conversations with folks at the festival, didn't connect with it, and I kind of put it off. But once I saw it was on VOD, I watched it on my own and fucking dug it. So,
All right.
Yeah, number
It's
9,
been a
Satanic
big
Panic.
year. Big year for Satan.
Oh.
Hail Satan.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 popes.
Yeah.
All right. Lisa, you're number 9.
My number 9,
Yep.
which is my number 2,
Jesus.
is my number 1 documentary of 2019, but number 15 of my top 25.
My brain is dripping out of my left ear right now. Hold on.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Yes.
Keep
Turn my
going.
brain to a bowl of
Keep going.
noodles.
Keep
I
going.
haven't even said the title of it.
Jesus.
It is One Child Nation.
I had a feeling that was going to come up. Yeah.
I mean, it's an amazingly powerful, devastating.
I'm scared to watch that
well-made
documentary. Do you know that?
documentary. I think you should.
'Cause
be.
I know. I mean, I'm very. I just.
I rolled into it. With I'm not going to say I had no expectations. I went in knowing that it was a film about China's one-child policy. But it is graphic. And the things that a government is capable of doing, forcibly aborting nearly term babies and literally just putting them in garbage bags and throwing them in the trash.
Yep.
It is really, it's upsetting.
Oh my God.
It's very upsetting.
And they show all that stuff.
And they show it. But what I think, the directors are Nanfu Wang and Jialing Zhang, who appears as Zhang Lin in the film, managed to accomplish as filmmakers is what I love in a really good documentary. I learned a lot, and it spans a lot. It spans from, like I talked about, the forced abortions, the strict regulation. It interviews people who still support the policy. It interviews people who no longer support the policy. It spans to the effect it has had on adoptions in the United States. And there are a bunch of children who cannot trace their heritage. There are families that are straight up missing their kids. They don't know they had, children taken from their home, and their daughters and sons, their daughters are missing. Right? So it covers a lot, but it still manages to be a very personal story. Nanfu Wang is a Chinese American. She is a third child, and she is a girl. So there is a lot of baggage there. A lot of her family still lives in China, and a lot of her family has suffered horrors because of this policy, and some of them still support it, weirdly support it. There's a lot of talk about the propaganda and the straight up brainwashing that goes into enforcing these policies and creating a culture that enforces these policies. And then on top of all that, it's a gorgeous movie. It is beautifully shot. There is a lot of, 2/3 rule. Let's shoot a person's face while they're talking. There is a lot of that. There is a lot of presentation of beautiful shots of China. There is some presentation of some beautiful art. There is richness of color. There is contrast. It's a really well-made movie.
Did you catch this one at a festival?
I saw this at Sundance.
Okay.
But it was also shown at Alamo Drafthouse Winchester.
It was last weekend.
Oh, yeah, that
it
was
the
last weekend. That's
Yeah,
right.
it
Did
was.
you see it last weekend?
I missed it because it was a morning one, but Danielle saw it and she fucking loved this movie. She thought it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. It's a devastating.
It's on Amazon
Yeah.
Prime.
Yeah,
right
that's-
now.
I
Yeah.
I compel people to watch it.
Yeah.
I watched it weirdly. Yeah.
Compel.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw it with another documentary that made in my head kind of a weird double feature, and that is American Factory.
Oh yeah.
So American Factory is a little bit more, I guess, whimsical. A Chinese factory comes to small town America, tries to take over. At the beginning of the film, like, man, Americans, fat, sloppy, can't get shit done. And then by the end of the film, it's like, for all of the flaws that we have as a nation, thank God I'm an American, because I don't want to work, all of the hours of the day and see my husband and children. I mean, I probably wouldn't have children even in China, but conceptual children, once a month.
Yeah.
Like, that's not living. So
That's on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Treat yourself.
Yeah.
Double feature.
Yeah, I think
If you're not feeling, if you're like, I need a little boost, and you want to go, thank God I'm not in China. Like,
I mean, that is the counterpoint to the why does Billy not identify flat out as a communist? And I
really
remember we
make
were recording for the
communism-
start of that, but Billy's a communist. Well, I mean, there's the whole China thing. Let's not throw around names.
yeah, but man, can they make a piece of automotive glass?
This is beautiful technology.
Yeah.
He's holding up his iPhone.
Yep.
Yeah,
Not a visual medium.
Many people have died, and many people have been caught in nets because of this phone.
Oh Lord.
Oh man.
Yeah, they have to
Super
put
dark.
up nets. Okay.
But accurate.
Yeah, so that's my number 8, which is my number 2 on my top 10, which is my number 30. What is it?
30.
No, it's my number.
No, we're on that 9s.
15, you said, I thought.
Yes, number 15.
I
On my
listened.
top 25, which has 49 films on it.
All right, calculus. Brad, your number 9.
My number-
that is just your number 9.
Yeah, it's just my number 9
Just
and my
number
not top 10.
Yes.
It does not make my top 25.
God damn it.
Just like the Lion
Too
King.
many numbers. Just say 9.
I just want to say you're welcome, Darren.
It's a film that I have been anticipating since the year 2006 when the series ended.
Dear Lord.
Unceremoniously after its 3rd season when there was so much potential of where the 4th season could go. I'm talking about Deadwood. David Milch's Deadwood.
Yeah.
This movie was not going to be able to achieve the genius of those 3 seasons, being so far removed and with so many actors who have passed away and with David Milch's own struggles with his health. But it brought us back to a time and a place that I just so desperately missed. I love these characters and the performers that inhabit them. Timothy Olyphant's Seth Bullock is just so fascinating to watch. And the story revolves around, the Dakotas are finally going to become states, North and South. It's, 1889, about 10 years after the events of the last season. Al Swearengen's still kicking around, just barely. And the film is truly Ian McShane's swan song as Al Swearengen.
Yep.
And if you want to follow the other characters or really, want to know what's going on with them, like if you're a big Brad Dourif fan and you just love Doc Cochran, this is going to give you, a taste of Doc Cochran, but it's not going to do much with him, right? And there are some logical issues I have with where characters are found in this film from where we last saw them. But they had to be there because other characters can't be there, right?
Yeah.
So given what they had to work with, I feel like this is a great return to Deadwood. And I don't know. The dialogue is still just delicious and gnarly and everything you want from a David Milch screenplay.
I'd forgotten that they speak in that way.
Yeah.
It's so unique. I love it.
And you just you watch this, you watch Deadwood, you go, man, Ian McShane should be a superstar. And Deadwood certainly propelled him into many roles, including Hellboy's 2019, where he plays Professor Broom, and he's great as Professor Broom. But he deserves the type of material that David Milch gives him on a regular basis. Ian McShane should be like our go-to actor, you know, and he doesn't get enough opportunity like he does in Deadwood.
He utilizes and speaks that dialogue like Sam Jackson speaks Tarantino's dialogue. It's just like they're just made for each other.
Yeah, it's a perfect marriage.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
so Deadwood, man.
All right, great pick. Damn, you need to. Have you seen the show?
No.
This is great.
I just found Brad and I have been cleaning out the office, and I just found while I was watching Deadwood, I kept track of all of the swear words with cross-hatching.
Did you run out of ink? Because goddamn,
It was a lot.
I don't know that there's another
Like,
show curses him.
When you look up Deadwood on IMDb and it shows the poster for Deadwood the movie is "Welcome the fuck back."
Well, that's disingenuous because we all know it's famous for the word.
Yeah,
the
it
C
should
word.
be "Welcome the fuck back, cocksucker."
Pretty much.
And then we high five because cocksucking is a really honorable thing to do. Thanks.
All right.
Speaking as the cocksucker at this table, high fives all around.
All right. My number.
How's it going?
We're number 9, I think.
Number 9, Darren.
yeah.
Number 9,
Number
Darren.
I got it. I'm gonna pull it together. This one is on my list. This is one of the good ones, not one of the anomalies, but this is one that just barely did not make my top 10. It's a documentary. It's unfortunately the only documentary on my list, but it is the one that has stuck with me the most. And it is Cold Case Hammerstone.
Yes! I was debating talking about this one. I'm so glad you're covering it.
Yeah, I Brad, you had seen this a while ago.
Yeah, Lisa and I saw it at Sundance.
You saw it at Sundance,
I'll move
and
it.
I remember it had been some months until I would come into contact with it on streaming, and I just remember you talking vaguely. I remember vaguely you talking about it, and I was thinking, is this the movie that Brad was talking about? And because I just remember you saying that.
Yeah.
The documentary is one thing up until a certain point, and then it becomes something else. And I was like, is this that one? So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to watch it.
You texted me first. You're like, is this that film? And I was like, yeah, that's that film. Good luck.
And, dude, so this is what IMDb says. Danish director Mads Brugger and Swedish private investigator Goran Bjorkdahl are trying to solve the mysterious death of Dag Hammarskjöld. I'm probably saying that wrong.
That's good.
As their investigation closes in, they discover a crime far worse than the killing of Secretary General of the United Nations. So basically, that's what the documentary starts out as. There is an investigation into the mysterious death of the, Secretary General of the United Nations. And I never in a million years would I have imagined where their research would take them.
Because they didn't.
Stupefyingly disturbing. Like
The tone of it is fucked.
It shifts so dramatically. Like you think, okay, well, you think it's bad enough. So there's this mysterious death, this plane crash.
Yeah, you think you're watching a conspiracy theory, and you are.
And you are, but even if it was just that, that's a super interesting. It was very interesting and engaging mystery to solve. Have you seen it, Billy?
I have not, but I do know this story.
Okay, and so just that, the investigation into this crash, I found like really engaging. So much so that I had quickly forgotten about your warning of, oh, Darren, it's going to turn into something else, right?
Yeah,
Brad?
and the filmmaking is strange too because he's doing some very creative choices in telling the story. Like
he's
not normal documentary.
I would love to talk to this filmmaker.
Yeah, he's basically he has several different people acting as almost like stenographers. He's speaking and having these people like type out, his thoughts and things like that. I don't know if it was for him to go back later on and sit down and look at everything and piece everything together or what. But the documentary cuts back and forth to this in an interesting way. But like I said, I found it engaging so much so that the initial mystery I was wrapped up in, and I had forgotten about anticipating this left turn. And then when that shit happens, I'm like, okay, did I miss something? Like, and I actually went back and rewound it about like 20 or 30 minutes to rewatch it to see, like, okay, how do we get here? Because this shit is nuts. But once you turn that corner, it was like a gut punch. Like it hurt so bad. Like it hurt so, like I was infuriated.
You were so mad.
Because
we were texting throughout the whole movie.
I was angry. I don't know that I've been that emotionally affected by a movie in that way to where I was that angry.
And when we were texting back and forth, I was trying to figure out, like, well, what kind of anger is Darren feeling right now via text?
I don't know, B. It wasn't anger at the filmmaking. It wasn't anger at the subject, but it was anger at humanity. It was anger at man, to do. It was anger at the evil that men do. And it was anger at the hurt. It was, because when you look at what happened and what's revealed, and then you think about how that has spread out and all the different things that's caused that you hear of and didn't know that it all goes back to that. Like even like right now, like it's I don't know, it's taking me somewhere else, and like it was shocking. It was shocking and affecting. Like, and to this day, like I would highly recommend watching it so that you can be informed.
It's on Prime also?
Yes. Yeah. I would highly recommend watching it so that you can be informed and are not ignorant of this, because it is something that everyone needs to know about and be aware of, and so that we can do whatever our part is to make sure that history does not repeat itself in that way. Because again, once you see what it is, and you realize so many hurtful and horrible things have happened and stemmed from that, and it would just be another tragedy on top of that to have humankind go through that shit, or go through something even worse again because we let it happen. So it's, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it again because I want people to see it, but just know that it starts out one thing, but then it goes to somewhere else entirely, and it's a gut punch. But yeah, truly effective subject matter, and I it's something that I won't soon forget. It's the last time that I've felt something akin to this was the act of killing, and the look in their eyes, or whatever, the follow up,
the look of silence.
Look of silence. Holy shit! That was probably the last time that I had been extremely affected.
Again, like the act of killing, it's having fun, quote unquote, with the filmmaking.
Yeah. Man. So yeah, that's my number 9. Brian, your number 8.
Okay, so my number 8 is a film that I saw at Fantastic Fest.
Yay!
And for some reason, I'm just oddly I love this movie for some reason. And it says it has a release date of 2020, but I think there were other screenings outside of festivals.
Not that matters.
Year. You do you.
No judgment.
And this is not top 10, so it's free reign. It's Deerskin.
Oh, yeah, Deerskin.
Deerskin, man. I saw Deerskin at Fantastic Fest.
It just played at the AFI. I missed it.
Yeah. So 2019. There we go. This stars Jean Dujardin.
Yeah, the artist.
Is this
the artist
from the guy who did Rubber?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is from the director Quentin Dupieux.
Yeah.
French is on fire today.
Thank you.
On fire.
So he directed Rubber, which I think.
We just rewatched Home Alone.
Okay. So Rubber came out 2010? So beginning of the decade, and
2011.
11. Okay.
But he also did In Fabric.
No, that's Peter Strickland.
Oh, they're all the same to me.
Okay.
All the weirdos.
So when Rubber came out, just wasn't my bag.
What?
Wasn't my thing.
But people's heads explode in that movie.
Yeah, I know. It was just something about that. It was just something about that particular type of humor, and it was a little bit off-putting for my taste.
Yeah, I was surprised you went and saw Deerskin.
Yeah, I don't know. I caught because going through Fantastic Fest and going through the schedule, and sometimes you can see the trailer if you go on the website. So I was like, all right, let me look through this, and the trailer looked looked kind of interesting. I was like, okay, let me go check it out. Shout out to Chris Physics because he knows how much I love this movie. He's like, you gonna go see Deerskin again? I was like, nah, man, I'm good with the one time because they show it on the second half because I just kept talking highly about that film. But it's basically Jean Dujardin plays a guy who is obsessed with this deerskin jacket. And he starts to hear voices from the jacket that is telling him to steal every jacket basically in the world.
Awesome.
And so he goes around and starts a crime spree, killing people and stealing like their jackets, because this deerskin jacket doesn't want any competition. It is fucking weird, and it makes some violent left turns, and it oddly it's like a love letter to filmmaking as well. Sure. It's so weird, but it is so.
I can't wait to watch this movie.
It's so entertaining.
Have you seen it, Lisa?
No, but I do love jackets.
And like Brian,
if I was to pick an article of clothing I love the most.
Brian was glowing after this screening.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and I still think about this movie. And it's so weird because when I put together my list for like all the films from Fantastic Fest, it was in like my top 10. It's like 22 on my list right now overall for the year, but it may be one outside of like Jojo Rabbit and Parasite that we saw at Fantastic Fest. It's probably in my top 5 of what we saw at Fantastic Fest. I love Deerskin, man. It's so odd.
What makes the difference? So, have you seen? He did Wrong, right? In between Rubber and Deerskin.
He's done a few films.
He's done a few. Yeah. What made the difference for you between Rubber and Deerskin?
Maybe the time. I don't know. Maybe 10 years. Rubber was just so off-putting because I didn't know what to expect, and then seeing that type of humor and what that movie was,
a much more adventurous film watcher in the last decade.
I mean, like that Fantastic Fest spirit that you were just talking about.
Yeah,
I think definitely contributes to being way more open to stuff that's going on.
And I want to say,
although you can just not like Rubber, that's not my point. Like that's okay.
But I haven't seen and I haven't seen Rubber since maybe once it came out like 8 or 9 years ago.
You can borrow my Blu-ray.
Oh, okay.
I just the comment that you made about like it seems like commentary on filmmaking. I think the DNA of that is also in Rubber.
Really?
I mean, because Rubber is also talking about storytelling and parts and
interesting.
And some of the
because like I said, I've only seen. I haven't seen like his other films, and I would love to go back now and revisit Rubber.
The year before Fantastic Fest, I saw Keep an Eye Out, and that was also.
Oh shit, he did that.
Yeah, really.
Keep an Eye Out had some really magic moments.
It's really interesting.
You like that one too, Lisa?
No.
Oh.
Okay. But this was appealing. This was just real. This was really appealing, and I want to feel. I don't want to say it's his most accessible film because again, it might just be my taste.
Yeah.
But I just found like something just grabbed me about this movie that I just really, really enjoyed about the process of watching it.
Was it the sleeves?
Yeah, and it has
or
like
the collar.
Like, the jacket is really nice.
I mean,
what?
The jacket is really nice. I could, if that jacket talked to me and it told me
kill
to
some
like,
motherfuckers too.
Yeah, that it wanted to be the #1 jacket in the world, I may try to help that jacket.
Like what you say about Quentin Dupieux and Dupieux, I said like,
bless you.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, allergies or something. What you say about him and like accessibility is not wrong. I watched Wrong, and there's foreign language in it. And the subtitles were not working on my thing, and so there was no subtitles at all when I watched it, and I was like, that's just what he's doing. Huge chunks of a movie in a foreign language that I don't speak. Okay. Like it fit for me. I was like, all right,
I
that's
think
how
you
we'll
were
do it.
dealing with more barriers than he had planned for.
I was wrong. But my point is, it's tough to get into his movies. So it's cool.
But he's interesting though, man. So, but yeah, that's my number 8, Deerskin.
Indie Dork, your number 8.
So my number 8, I want to say, I think may now be my favorite Thanksgiving movie of all time. Aww. Like I'm always on the hunt for good Thanksgiving movies. I've written in the past about my affection for Plane, Trains, and Automobiles, which I think is the Thanksgiving movie about family and discovery and all that sort of stuff. But it's really hard to find movies that embrace, I think, the spirit of what I think Thanksgiving comes from in the way that we talk about it sort of as American culture and glide over some of the horrible bullshit that is underneath that and the awful genocide that's associated with that.
America is something sweet built on lies.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But no, Pilgrim is, I think, maybe my new favorite Thanksgiving movie. Hulu's been doing this. I spent like 2017 and 2018 talking a lot about how these streaming services should be using their massive war chest to fund independent movies and just let people tell some fucking stories without any strings attached to it. And Hulu really, I think, dove into that arena with their partnership with Blumhouse and their Into the Dark series. They've had some really awesome movies come out of that. Nacho Vigalondo with his Puka. Chelsea Stardust, who did Satanic Panic that I just talked about, also did a movie in that, All That We Destroy, which is kind of a science fiction-y, like murderer, serial killer thing, all in a nutshell. And Gigi Saul Guerrero did Culture Shock, which is on my to-watch list, but I think is one of the most lauded ones out of all of that. But for me, Pilgrim is like, it's the core concept of the movie is a family that has been put together. There's a death in the family. There's a step parent in place, and they're trying to find their place with each other and how to interact with the stepmom, with the kids, and the husband's relationship with the stepmom, and then his kids, and how everything evolves as you blend families together. And they're worried about how that's going. So the mom decides to invite in Pilgrim reenactors to come into their house and have Thanksgiving with them and do a traditional Pilgrim puritanical Thanksgiving where they get rid of their devices and they really get down to the grassroots of it. Okay. And when I heard that concept, I thought, well, Jesus goddamn Christ. I mean, there's just so much awfulness built into the mythology that we have around Thanksgiving, and what are they going to... And you know what? It really spoke to me personally because these fucking pilgrims are not to be goddamn trusted. I tell you that much. And so the pilgrims are exactly as unforgiving as you sort of like colloquially will say, this seems very puritanical of you. Well, these fucking pilgrims are very puritanical, and they are not having any of the cultural disobedience that this family is exhibiting. And so you get to watch this family come together in face of the puritanical threat of American culture. And it's just like this fascinating, insane movie that I really can't think of finding a home in another place other than something like Hulu just being like, hey, Blumhouse, let's do some movies and just let people say some shit. And I think that that's really exciting. I think that it's a lot of fun to watch, and I think it leaves you kind of thinking a little bit about something. And that's really what your horror movies should do. So for me, I think Pilgrim may be the best Thanksgiving movie.
I still need to watch it.
It's worth a look. It really is. It's not just indie dork. Like, I know I enjoy independent movies
Terrible
with
movies.
small budgets.
Oh,
yeah. That's fine. I mean, that's okay to think that. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. I've seen some of the star ratings you put to things. Your judgment is also questionable.
Fair.
It's all objective, but like,
it's all objective.
It's all objective. that was a Freudian slip. It's all subjective, I think, is what I meant to say, not think.
I mix those up.
Yeah, I do too. But no, I think it's good. I think it's very well made. The horror in it is exciting. The gags are a lot of fun, and the script is really sharp. And if you got Hulu, man, take a look at it. It's awesome.
All right. Wife Dork, your number 8, which is your number 17 on the 36th pick of your number 1, 2, and 3.
Don't spoof me. I'm right here. It is, in fact, my number 3 of my not top 10, and my number 18 of my top 25. So it's legit in my top 25.
Okay.
Where is it in the genre specific section, though?
God damn it, Billy.
Well, it's definitely my number 1 Disney remake.
Because
it is Aladdin.
Yes.
Yay.
Love that.
And the reason it's on my not top 10 is because I have been staunchly against the Disney remakes. And as a whole, I'm not against the idea of remakes. And my heart understands, my brain understands the argument of the original still exists, right? Psycho still exists. Like, if you don't like the remake, don't watch it, But to me, like, I just felt like these Disney remakes was not celebrating what made these Disney films special to me, who was raised in the prime age of the super sweet highlight of Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King. Those were my princess movies.
Trifecta.
Yeah. And so like when I watch the Cinderella remake, I find that one to be the worst.
Really?
Yeah, I really
I like it.
I find it soulless. I find it hardly related to the original film.
That's true.
And but we're staying positive. What I think, like, Aladdin is flipped my mind, going like, it is possible to do a remake that is a legit update of a movie that came out in the 90s. There are problematic things with it, but I think that they managed to keep the soul of what made it fun. It's directed by Guy Ritchie, so I'm a little biased. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels is one of my all-time favorite movies. So I love Guy Ritchie films, but what I love about this film, it aesthetically is a beautiful film. They do a good job of marrying that animated, whimsical style with going like, hey, we are aware that we can't just make up how other cultures work entirely. It still takes place in Agrabah, which is like a made-up place. But still, anyway,
There's a lot going on in that anyway.
Essays are going on in here. But it's a really good musical. It's well presented. I think that the fact that they did the casting in a way where it's like, we have to be racially, culturally aware of who we're casting. So they didn't go out of the pool of like, well, who's the biggest star who looks kind of like a princess that we can stick in this role? They go, let's find someone who can sing. Let's find someone who can dance. Let's find someone who can really act. And they put together an amazing cast in Mina Masood, who played Aladdin. Awesome. Naomi Scott, who played Jasmine. Naveed Negahban, who played the Sultan.
Okay.
And like that trifecta of actors, I think they did an amazing job.
What about that unknown, that new guy they got to play the genie?
To play. I thought Will Smith made a really wonderful.
That was Will
genie.
Smith.
Yeah.
It was Will Smith.
I mean, to me, Aladdin reminded me why I love Will Smith.
Yeah.
I miss this Will Smith.
He's like, you get that he's funny. He's like he's being like, you can tell he's improvising. He's bringing his own self to the character. But that is what I'm blanking.
Robin Williams.
Yeah. That's what Robin Williams did. Like, he wasn't trying to do, he was not trying to do a Robin Williams genie. He was bringing something new.
Making his own, yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of became okay with him being blue.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did like Blue Will Smith.
I did. And I, what I think is most significant is them going like, how can we update the character of Jasmine? Because Jasmine was, her story in the original film was, I'm a princess. I want to marry someone cute and not ugly. And then whoever that is, they can be sultan, So them going like, we're going to make Jasmine someone who is politically aware, who has her own aspirations, and she wants to marry for love. And guess what? That asshole doesn't get to be sultan because all he's done is be a pickpocket his whole life. So he can be the trophy husband, and she will be sultan.
Yeah.
So I thought that those updates were just so vital.
What about that music, though?
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I wasn't in love with the new song. Whatever.
Is that what it's called? I haven't seen the Aladdin remake.
So, what's great, one of the things that's great with Aladdin is a lot of the numbers are action scenes. So there's still things, there's still plot moving forward in the context of those numbers. So Jasmine has a new song. And where they did involve the original writers, but then they also brought in the team from Frozen?
No.
I'm not sure.
I think so. Yeah.
And so I thought that tonally it didn't match the rest of the music. I don't think that it had that like musical theater flair that the original music had. And like it was Jasmine singing and the rest of the rest of the action was literally frozen. Like staying still, like not moving. Like the movie stops.
It was kind of like it's happening in her mind.
Yeah. And it's not catchy. And that is like as a kid raised on musical theater, that's a beef that I have with musical theater as a whole. I think that direction-wise, taste is moving away from my heart song, which is fine. Like that's the way culture is going to go. Like, I don't like Frozen.
Ouch.
Ice cold in here right now.
I don't like Wicked. I have nothing against Idina Menzel. I think she's a wonderful singer. Yes. So I loved Aladdin. I thought it was a great film.
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 18 in my top 25.
Would you watch a Billy Morganson spin-off series on Disney Plus about that white dumb prince who wanted Jasmine?
Hell yes.
It's
I
coming.
would any excuse to watch Billy Magnuson.
I do like him.
He's legit dreamy.
Oh,
I mean, that's true.
Brad and I have been in his presence. We looked at him and we'd be like, he'd be fine.
oh,
Either one he prefers.
I mean, he was very nice.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I love Aladdin. It's in my top 25. I think I have it at 17 right now.
Yay!
So,
So we're about tied.
Yeah.
I weirdly have Bathtub over Broadway in this list. So I think if we popped back, but I had it in my top 10 last year. So if we popped that out, then we'd be tied.
Yeah,
Did that technically get released this year?
I think so.
Yes. I screwed up last year. Well, or my point of view was different last year. I'm a different woman.
Yay!
I've won her over.
Festivals, man. Festivals.
You're number 8B.
My number 8 is my number 1 action film of the year, and it's a movie that I do not think is getting any attention, and it infuriates me. No, it is not John Wick Chapter 3.
I was going to talk about Hobbs and Shaw. Don't
No,
worry.
it's not Hobbs and Shaw.
I know where you're
It's
going.
Jesse V. Johnson's Avengement, starring Scott Adkins.
Oh, yeah.
I love the IMDb one-sentence plot synopsis. After years of assaults on him in prison, Kane escapes for avengement on those responsible.
That's concise.
Yeah, that's it.
That's exactly what the movie's about.
And what I love about the movie is you're introduced to Kane, Scott Adkins, first after having been transformed by prison. And Scott Adkins is a monster in this movie. And they've busted out all of his teeth. They've given him this metal grill. He looks like Jaws from those James Bond movies. And he is terrifying. And, he decimates dudes in the beginning. He's going after his brother's gang who basically put him in prison where he was going to be brutalized. And then it flashes back occasionally to pre-prison. Yeah. And Scott Adkins is like this beautiful little butterfly.
He's so jolly.
He's so nice and you want to take care of him. And then they bust his teeth out. And when he finally gets to the end and confronts his brother, that action scene in the pub, and also this is like the most British Scott Adkins film we've had.
Oh yeah, easily.
This is like his version of a Guy Ritchie film, and it is ugly and mean and angry, and I respond greatly to it. But when it goes off at the end, and shotguns are blasting off heads, it is really. It is fun, but it is also very painful because by the end of the film, you really do. We can all hear you chewing, Lisa. Don't worry.
Brad gave me a candy cane.
Yay!
Lisa's trying to chew under the table, which is more distracting. She just chewed right into my ear.
Mute your mic. Go ahead. Chew away.
But when you get to the end of this movie, you feel for our hero, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And like, if you weren't already a Scott Adkins movie, if you like a fan, if you've never seen a Scott Adkins film, like I feel like this
You would
is
start there. You would start with this one?
I think this is a great place to start.
Yeah.
Because I think it's some of his best acting, and he is, even when he is being a total monster, he is charismatic.
Yeah.
So Avengement, suck it, John Wick, Avengement. It's all about Kane.
I can't wait to see him in Ip Man 4. He's the, the main bad guy. In
Like, I just want to see Scott Adkins in so many
Everything,
things.
right?
So,
He's
yeah,
so good.
Yeah, he's so good.
All right, so my number 8. Now I'm going back to the films that I was really excited to see, looking forward to, and it didn't quite meet my expectations. So, and again, as you can see, I'm not shitting on these movies. I'm just going to talk about mainly I'm focusing on just my excitement leading up to them. This particular one was M. Night Shyamalan's Glass, the follow-up to Split. So we've talked about Split ad nauseum on the podcast. From
nauseum, emphasis on nauseum.
Oh wow,
Split's good.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was talking about Glass.
Yeah. So
Glass is
I loved Split. And I felt like it was M. Night Shyamalan returning to form and making pictures that I genuinely care about and like. James McAvoy is great in that movie. Anya Taylor-Joy is amazing in that film. And so, with the way that film ended, obviously I'm looking forward to the sequel and the follow-up. So when it's announced that, M. Night Shyamalan is going to bring back David Dunn. And
that ending of Split was just like...
Absolutely, right? That's a big promise right there, right? And so, in reality, I guess he kind of, he writes a big check with that ending, and he sets an extremely high bar. And unfortunately, just, for me, I just didn't feel like Glass was able to clear that bar. It was good to see Bruce Willis back in that role as David Dunn. I like seeing Bruce Willis in movies that aren't just on VOD. I like to think that people still care about him
but
in
he
Hollywood
acts
to put
in
him.
all his movies like he's just on VOD.
Yeah, but just to revisit that world with those characters, to see him and Samuel L. Jackson's Elijah. But with those characters and what M. Night Shyamalan does with them, I don't feel like it's as strong as what he did in Split, and does not come close to, doesn't even feel like it's in the same ballpark as Unbreakable.
Yeah.
So it ultimately it was just disappointing that he could not have finished that trilogy on a high note. Because I tell you what, because if Glass had turned out at the very least as good as Split, that would have been an incredible trilogy.
Oh, hell yeah.
That would have been an incredible trilogy because Unbreakable is such a strong film. I got the chance. I think we saw all 3 of those films like at the Alamo. We saw Unbreakable, Split, and then Glass. And then putting Glass in that context, seeing it in that context next to those films,
not fair.
I don't know that it did it any favors, right? Because, definitely seeing Split right after Unbreakable made me appreciate that movie even more, which I had already held in high regards. So I was genuinely excited going into Glass, having just watched those other 2 movies back to back. But again, like I said, because of the deficiencies in that film, it like I said, it didn't do it any favors having just come out of Unbreakable and Split, which is a shame. But I will say that, I still have faith in M. Night. I'm curious to check out this new show that he has on Apple TV Plus. I just got a free year subscription to that, so I'm going to definitely check that out. I'll probably be talking about that on the podcast. And he's saying that I heard that he already has an idea on another small suspense or horror type film. So I feel like with what he did with Split, even though I wasn't fond of Glass, I feel like what he did with Split was enough to buy some more good faith from me to see what else he's going to do. Because at the end of the day, I can appreciate his choices, his different choices, him stepping outside of, what I would usually see from other filmmakers and writers. And even though they might not always stick or resonate with me. Like I said, I do appreciate him, telling his own stories.
The way you feel about Bruce Willis returning to that character in Glass is how I feel about Sam Jackson taking back the role of Mr. Glass.
Mr. Glass, yeah.
Because that character is very different from anything else in his filmography.
Yeah.
And even though I was deeply disappointed like you were in Glass, I love watching
Seeing
Jackson
him back in that role, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's so good. He's so good. I just wish that, M. Night Shyamalan had constructed a more satisfying film around his return.
Now, I love Split. And I love Unbreakable. I have not seen Glass.
Oh,
So
Skip it.
It's
It's a straight up skip.
Is it a flat? It's that bad? Just skip it.
Yeah.
It's just not as good because, like I said, Unbreakable and Split, as you've seen them, are tremendous films. They're tremendous films.
Yeah, I guess that's what.
And Glass
So
is
this
not,
is a great juxtaposition of tremendous. Shitty. It's a shitty film.
Yeah.
I
Glass
mean,
is not-
there's no way. I don't know. And Billy, we have different opinions, certainly.
What?
But I don't think there's any way you watch Glass and go,
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. The most that I can think of that I've seen people get upset about something that came out is the reaction, like the visceral reaction to Bright when that came out, and how
Bright was
upset
good.
people were. I watched. I
I don't know
finally
about
watched
good,
Bright,
but-
and I thought it was fine. I wasn't mad that I put my time into it.
yeah.
I'm okay that I never
well,
had
I
any
think
conversations.
depending on how you go into anything with, like your attitude dictates anything. If you go into Glass and you're like, I can't wait to see what they do.
Right.
You're like, oh man. But if
Going
you go like,
into
I'm watching
Glass-
Bright.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
well, but also Bright did not have two movies in
previous
front of
installments to
that.
put the
Right,
expectations up.
so that
Yeah.
that's why I say like that didn't help watching those other two films before Glass. But I mean, definitely check it out.
No.
Okay, don't check it out. Just take my word for it, Lisa. Is that okay?
It's on the queue. I think it's going to be permanently at like number 11 on the queue.
All
look,
right.
we watch movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, but I will though. I mean, I do very much lean into the idea of like I want to see the movie, so I know how I feel about it, and I think that's should be everybody's approach. Watch more movies, but I do actually take the consensus opinions of groups of people when I like have other shit to watch. Like I'm not gonna bump to the top Glass if the consensus really is Jesus goddamn
You
Christ,
got
why was this made?
more films to watch before next week.
So I don't need that for my top 10 prep.
No.
I'm chasing 2019, baby. Give me Glass.
All right, Brian, your
Seven.
your lucky number 11.
I love that movie.
I
too.
know, that's why I did.
Weirdly,
thank you.
on my not top 10. What? Did not come out in 2019.
It's weird. This has been a year where we've had a lot of movies that deal with like social class, social structure, economical disparities between like the rich and the poor.
I'm really concerned about what this pick is going to be.
Eat the rich.
No, but I mean, looking at stuff like Parasite and Us, but I think the one that's kind of going under the radar is the film Ready or Not.
Yeah.
Ready or Not, I think is a great genre film that is having that conversation about class and
People
rich
exploding.
and rich people
Fucking A.
and the detachment of rich
Heads
people
from body.
to society. It played brilliantly. It stars Samara Weaving, who I did mention is Hugo Weaving's niece. If people do not know,
that's right.
It blew my mind when you revealed that on our review cast.
Yeah, and she's had a hell of a career. She was also in that movie I saw at Sundance, Fantastic Fest.
Guns Akimbo.
Guns Akimbo, yeah, which I didn't even recognize her in that movie. But
I love the word akimbo.
Me too.
Yeah, it's a great word.
The Babysitter.
Yep.
Babysitter is
Mayhem.
awesome.
Mayhem.
She's
She's
Mayhem
awesome.
is awesome.
Yeah. So she's coming up. But the synopsis here: Bride's
Bill
wedding
and Ted
night.
3.
Oh yeah.
in
That's
that?
what.
Yeah,
yes.
she's the daughter.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be great. Now I'm actually more excited for that movie.
How dare what?
How could that be?
Oh,
We're all super excited about that movie.
yeah. Yes.
Brian, keep going.
What?
Brian, hurry before Brad notices.
So the synopsis to Ready or Not: a bride's wedding night takes a sinister turn when her eccentric new in-laws force her to take a part in a terrifying game. So they have this ritual that they have to keep that, I guess, if I remember correctly, keeps them rich. They're part of like this gaming dynasty. and they're playing this deadly game that she has to survive the night. So they have to kill her, or else something will happen by dawn.
Yay!
Dead by dawn.
And again, it's a genre film that's speaking to that whole commentary about the rich and the poor and everything and social structure. And I think it's fascinating. I love seeing genre movies when they tackle these things in very interesting ways. And yeah, man, I really, really dug this movie. Actually, just well, I was talking to Darren about this. Yeah, I watch movies. I usually have movies on in the background while I'm working, and so last night I actually had Ready or Not.
Stop sharing our private conversations with the public.
Because Darren can't just put movies on and have them as background noise.
How could you do that?
Well, you don't do that? Like when you're doing dishes and stuff?
I don't
Yeah.
do that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
do
like
watch
to
it.
throw on
I do it all the
some kind of-
time.
some-
If I've
some
seen
kind of,
it, maybe.
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah. If you've
I
seen
can't
it.
even do that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's
Oh,
making
no.
Only
my
maybe.
fingernails itch. Stop.
Yeah, so I put Ready or Not on, and I kind of.
But that wasn't your first watch.
No. I've seen it.
All right, look, I'm zero judgment when it comes to how people consume films, but thank fucking Christ that
Oh
was your
no,
answer.
no. I would never. That's why I always put. That's why my letterbox is very few and far between of new movies. Because when I'm home, I just rewatch a lot of old stuff because I'm always moving and working and doing all these different.
That's why you don't
things.
have time to watch Hellboy.
I'll make time.
All
Well,
right.
I'm caught up on some of my editing, so I'll
Yeah.
make time this week.
Oh,
So
okay.
no,
Just throw it on in the background.
don't fret, Billy or Brad. I'm going to watch Hellboy.
Hey,
He'll throw it
don't,
on in the
don't chase
background.
2019, man. You come to Hellboy 2019 when you get to it, and you're gonna love it.
Okay.
It'll still be there for you.
All right. So
Brad's frowns.
You better watch her.
Billy, promises were made.
So, yeah, I won't talk about this film too much more, but I think it's beautifully shot too. For a low budget film,
It looks good, like really good.
It looks really good. I mean, you see some of these big budget movies that have like $100 million budgets that look like shit, and this is a small indie genre picture, maybe $8 million, $10 million at the most, and it looks beautiful. The way they shoot this house is gorgeous. So yeah, man, Ready or Not, if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor. I think the movie ends perfectly.
Yep.
It's a great ending to this film.
Hell yeah.
I won't spoil it, even though Darren may have already hinted at it a little bit.
Whoops. I get so excited when that happens. I'm sorry.
I know. But yeah, definitely check out Ready or Not. That's my number 7, which was on my list is 21.
Dear Lord, man.
Right in front of Deerskin. So I like it a little better. than
Ready
Deerskin.
or not.
I wouldn't
Here
say it's
I
gone
come.
under all radars.
You
Brian.
can
I,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
find.
There's a hint of things to come.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Indie Dork, what is your number 7?
So my number 7 is one that I've been thinking about a lot since I saw it, and it seems to have been a very controversial movie as far as very polarizing and divisive for the people who watched it.
Uh-oh.
Black Christmas 2019. Sophia Takal and April Wolf's Black
saw it?
Christmas. I did see it.
I
yeah.
haven't seen it yet.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
I liked the movie very much. I enjoyed it. I appreciate the perspective and their approach that they took in telling of this story. It's a remake of Bob Clark's Black Christmas, 1974,
And a remake of Black Xmas.
and a remake of Black Xmas 2006, which I have not seen.
pretty good.
I only watched Bob Clark's Black Christmas for the first time this year, and I don't like Bob Clark movies. I don't give a shit about Christmas Story.
What about Death Dream?
You know,
Shrugs McGee.
shrugs. It's not a visual medium, Billy. Shoulder shrugs. I just don't. I don't connect with his style of storytelling.
Christmas Story?
Yeah, A Christmas Story.
Don't make him
Goodbye.
Don't make him say it twice, Brad. He already said he don't like it.
And like in everything, it's all subjective, and it just doesn't resonate with me. And I guess to say that is my point is just I don't have an emotional connection to like growing up watching Black Christmas, Bob Clark's Black Christmas, and that being like a formative movie in my like movie watching
Baby
experience.
Geniuses?
Ew.
Well, actually.
He did that?
Yeah,
Baby Genius.
Bob Clark's an interesting filmmaker.
Yeah.
He just doesn't connect with me. Like his left and rights of what stories he's told, fascinating conversation to have. They just
Porky's?
they're not for me. I don't like Porky's either.
Porky's 2?
I don't like Porky's too either. Yeah,
Same.
yeah. I just it's I
Loose Cannons.
okay.
Dan
Actually,
Aykroyd.
Loose
Gene
Cannons
Hackman.
is Loose
pretty
Cannons is
good.
okay. Anyway, so
I'm gonna
that's
keep shouting
Bob, that's
things
Bob
at you.
Clark's filmography we're going through. But the reaction to Sophia Takal and April Wolf's Black Christmas, before people even saw it, they were mad that it was a remake. Joe Bob Briggs caught flack on the internet because he said, I hate it when filmmakers talk about the social politics of their movie before the story, which is a big yawn from me of a conversation. Like, I think that's...
And contradictory to things he said in the past anyway.
Right, I agree. And
us.
And I think that's just him being Joe Bob Briggs and poking a hornet's nest.
Yeah.
And then I see, he's got an article on a new website that's a response to it, so I feel like it's more a marketing thing for him to draw attention to his written response in the Rebellion. I forget what it's called. Anyways, that's a side point. But like, I think the way that we anticipate movies has been a big theme of 2019 and 2018, and the emotional energy that we put into wanting stories to be told in a particular way. And not being able to separate new things from old things and appreciate them as different or building on each other.
Wait, you talking about Black Christmas or Star Wars?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
What?
yes. But I like, for me, the Black Christmas is a big touch point in that conversation. I think the Star Wars conversation is a big part of that. And like, so I get out of Black Christmas. I enjoyed that movie. At the very beginning, there's a lot of dialogue that felt just like women in a sorority having kind of goofy one-liners, and it didn't land for me. That part of the script didn't land for me, and it felt wooden. And I was like, man, once we got to the last half, we started getting into the story with it. I really dug it a lot more. But that opening bit, I don't know if it was the acting or the script or what, it didn't work for me. And I started thinking about it, and it's the same type of bullshit that I'm used to seeing in frat boy college movies, where you see the bros being bros, tossing out these lines, and I'm like, oh, I speak that language. I know what the fuck they're saying. I have some shared experiences with that, and I may not find it terribly interesting, but it doesn't take me out of the movie because it's my fucking language. And for me, like, watching Black Christmas has been just a reminder that, like, not all stuff is designed to be for you, and not all of that stuff, when it doesn't land on you, it doesn't mean that they've done something wrong or they've made a shitty movie or they've taken something and disrespected it. It just means they're doing something different with it, and you may not be the target audience for that. And I think that that's an important lesson for everybody to keep in mind when they're watching movies, because like, the idea of movies is to learn what other people think. Like, otherwise it's this really isolating navel gazing exercise of what stimulates the dopamine hits in my brain, and nobody talked to me about it because that's all I'm after is the dopamine chase.
I stare at my navel.
I stare at my navel too. I got one of those innie Howdies. It's the best
Belly
time.
That's
button.
wild.
Belly button.
But no, but so to me, like, Black Christmas became wrapped up in that, like, the my thinking of it, that nutshell of like how I approach movies and how I think about them. And before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about how to divorce ourselves from our anticipation of what a story is going to be and watch what's given.
Exactly.
And when I'm thinking in film critic modes of how to evaluate the stuff, I do try very strongly to evaluate it based on the goals of the filmmaker and not my expectations for the story. But that's hard, and it takes work, and you have to practice to do that. And it bums me out when I see people get so mad at something that I went into Black Christmas thinking, well, I didn't really give a shit about Bob Clark's Black Christmas when I watched it, so I guess this will be something I also don't give a ship about, or maybe whatever.
Is it vastly different? Are the two vastly different?
It
films?
is.
Okay.
I mean, it is. The philosophy is very similar, and the social commentary is ultimately very similar, but they're separated by 45 years, 35 years, 45 years, 1974 to now. So they're separated by 45 years. So you watch a story told that has a feminist perspective in 1974 in the language of 1974 cinema, with Bob Clark doing stuff that hasn't been done before, but it's made by a dude. And the thinking has evolved in the last 45 years. And so you go and you watch Black Christmas 2019, you still see that very feminist message, and they really are just like, fuck subtlety. I mean, that's a direct quote from April Wolf, co-writer of the film. Fuck subtlety. And I got no problem with that. Like, I think subtlety's overrated these days. I think people don't pay enough attention to what's going on around them, that if you're being subtle,
get
gonna
it.
miss some stuff. It's actually a big problem in my head and what I've been thinking about with satires these days. I worry a lot about how people internalize satires and what they see in it, and what they take away from it, and whether or not it's what the filmmaker's going after. And so it's, anyways, Black Christmas to me just became this kind of interesting thing to think about films and how I think about them and how we talk about them. But I would say support the movie. If you have any interest in it at all, go check it out. It's I don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's bad. I've seen some reviews that really, I've seen some reviews that were like, look, I don't mind the philosophy of this movie, but it's the worst technical filmmaking I've ever seen. And I'm like, I think maybe you have a problem with the philosophy and you're not translating that in your head correctly. It's not a bad movie. So go in, take a look at it, support it, see what you think.
Really with a hard sell.
I was
not
not going to
horrible.
go see that movie 5 minutes ago, but I will be checking it out this week. Thank you, Billy. All right, Wife Dork, your number 7.
My number 7 is actually another documentary,
Oh,
which seems like a lot, but there are no, like, I think the statistic is interesting, maybe to myself, talking about navel gazing.
yay!
Yes, I would like to know more.
It's very dark. It's dark and it's deep. That's my belly button. I have no documentaries in my top 10, but I've got 6 documentaries in my legit top 25. My
Damn.
top 25 that is actually 25. So I love storytelling and I love fiction, but there's 6 amazing documentaries at least that I've seen this year. And I'm sure a ton I've missed. But this one is one that really moved me, and it is Love and Tosha.
Oh.
So in my top 25, Love and Tosha is number 16. And what I think makes this particularly interesting as maybe a turning point in biographical biographies is this dude was born in 1986.
Yep.
So if you think of how we're used to seeing autobiographical documentaries, where it's like photograph, pan over the photograph, talking head. There is a ton of footage of Anton Yelchin, and I'm not just talking about his acting history because he was a working actor starting in year 2000. He started appearing on television, but he was a child obsessed with filmmaking. So he had his VHS at home and he practiced acting in his bedroom and he had his action figures out and he was making movies and he had a smartphone and he was taking videos of himself and he was taking videos of his friends. So I think that there's just so much more out there when you're trying to create an intimate portrait of somebody in terms of footage. Now, another thing that I think is really special about this film is that it's not interested in sanctification. It's interested in presenting a whole person. And everybody who talks about Anton in this film loves him. And it does bring the star power, Simon Pegg, Kristen Stewart,
Chris Pine,
all have wonderful, vibrant, loving stories. I forgot where I was going with that thought. It's not what I remember about the film. It was scrolling through the Wikipedia where I was like, shit, all of these people were in this film. What I remember is I think about the footage of Anton one. The interviews with his parents, because these are people who were immigrants. They had a history in their family of oppression, being Jewish people in Russia, Soviet Russia. They also have their own rich history being Olympic figure skaters. And then bringing their child here and making this person their whole world. And they had a very unique relationship where it really did feel like them against the world. And the reason the film is called Love and Tosha is because for as long as Anton could write, he would write his mother love notes every day. Every single day, he would have something loving to say to his mother.
Wow.
And
she kept all those in there.
yeah,
God
yeah,
damn.
and it's very clear that the loss of their son destroyed their world.
Yeah.
There's no other way to describe it. Yeah. And so when Brad and I went to the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, we were so compelled by this film, we wanted to visit his grave. It's a cool place to visit, first and foremost, just as a person who loves graveyards, and how just as like this idea of everybody gets a monument, and Hollywood Forever Cemetery really embraces that. And it's not just celebrities and people who have worked in film. It's just whoever has the money to put down to be buried there. And people literally get to do whatever they want. So there's a lot of, to me, you know, anonymous people, heroes of their own story, but I don't know who they are, who have really amazing grave sites. Some people embrace the, like, I want like a cowboy grave site, and I just want like a wooden cross, while other people have like these entire monuments, or you have something that's handmade, like it's like amazing. But Anton Yelchin's grave is a statue, like it's a statue of himself in his glory, you know, in his, you know, the way you would imagine him, you know, just glowing. And so Brad and I went to go visit, and his mother was there.
Shit.
And Brad and I were shocked. And
I remember you telling me.
Yeah,
that's right.
and we had a long conversation of, do we talk to her? Do we say something? And we actually walked past her sports car. And in her sports car, in the back window, she has a little memorial to him where it has his jacket, it has a photo of him. Her license plate is related to him. So she is like a one-woman parade of her son's career. And I think that she really was there to talk to people.
And we saw her talking to other people.
We saw her talking to other people. And when we finally were like, Brad and I had the heart-to-heart, like, she wants to talk to people, we should say something. We looked at her and she was on the phone. And part of us, like, we were relieved.
Yeah.
We were relieved.
Let's go.
Yeah, I do.
And when we took that opportunity to then visit his grave properly,
Yeah.
while she was on the phone, and she waved us, and we waved back.
Yeah, so she got to see us appreciate. Like, part of me does regret, like, going like, this is a grieving mother. She deserves to get what she wants. You know, like, if she really wants to have people come up to her and sincerely say, your son's art brought value to my life, like, she deserves to hear that. But also awkward. But I think that this is a really worthwhile film to watch. Like, when I think of Anton Yelchin, I think of the Star Trek series. I think of that vampire movie.
Fright Night.
I think of Green Room.
Yeah.
But he's done a ton of movies.
So many.
He's great in
done
Alpha Dog.
So much. I've never seen Alpha Dog. Brad and I, when we came back, we're like, we're going to do an Anton Yelchin memorial rewatch. We have yet to do it, but it is something in our future.
2020.
But I think that this is an interesting film just as a turning point of biographical films are not going to be the same because of the direction of technology.
Yeah. It's going to be hard to put one together. A lot of content.
There's so much content, and you can write the story that you want with the amount of content
especially
that
with the people, the famous people from our generation and moving forward.
I mean, you could just be like, wow, look at these guys' dick
But
pics.
like the way the way they presented Anton Yelchin is he was a genius. He did have a spark. He did have talent. He was a weirdo, and he made he brought joy to people's hearts, and you know, and maybe every once in a while he would do something that would make you look askance. Yeah. But he was young,
very young,
baby,
and
man.
taken weirdly, like freak accident.
Yep.
So I like that. I like that this memorial film exists about him. I feel privileged to have watched it.
All right. I wonder if that's available on streaming. I
You
need to
can,
check
is.
you can rent it for sure.
All right. B, your number 7.
My number 7 is a
Yep.
film that I just delighted in. I watched it with Billy the first time.
Yeah.
And we watched it. I think we both really enjoyed it. And as we were leaving, we were discovering that people weren't enjoying it the way that we enjoyed it.
Oh.
They're like, what's wrong with you? Because this movie is a delight. And I'm going to announce this film with one word. Ghouls. It's The Dead Don't Die. The latest from Jim Jarmusch, which is unlike any other Jim Jarmusch movie. It is so goofy. Now, he has made goofy movies,
I like this.
but not like this. It's very, very silly. It's a zombie film that seems to be taking place in the same universe as George Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
And it's populated by all the regulars from Jim Jarmusch movies. You know, Adam Driver worked with him in Patterson, and Chloe Sevigny's in this, and Tilda Swinton's in this. Steve Buscemi, the RZA, Tom Waits, Danny Glover, Caleb Landry Jones, Rosie Perez, Carol Kane, Iggy Pop, and Bill Murray. And it starts off as like, okay, this is going to be a zombie comedy. That's what all the trailers showed, and it's that, but it's a celebration of zombie movies. It's a lampooning of zombie movies. It's a lampooning of movies. Everyone seems to be, or at least one character seems to be trapped in George Lucas's Star Wars, where I've got a bad feeling about this, and you keep hearing, this is not going to end well. It's not going to end well. It's not going to end well. And you're like, well, I don't want to say any more about that aspect of the film because it goes places where the trailers certainly did not show you were going to go. Yeah, and when it does go there, you either roll with it or you bail.
It's a big ask.
It is a big ask. I rolled with it.
It's nuts. I liked it.
I had a lot of fun with it. And it is another film where you go, oh, Adam Driver is a national treasure.
Yeah.
And we should really, really recognize his talent.
Yeah. He has so many different levels.
Yeah. Whenever he's on screen, no matter what the movie, you are drawn to what he is bringing. And it's usually something different.
Yep. I mean, that Ghouls line gets mockery. Like, it gets kind of teased a little bit.
But it's so good.
It's such a fucking good choice.
Yeah.
And he
Ghouls.
sells the shit out of it the entire movie.
Yeah.
It's great.
So, I don't know. Like, there's not much more I want to say about The Dead Don't Die.
I still haven't seen it, and I love that trailer.
Yeah. I think you'll
Lisa would
enjoy
like
it.
that?
I think she would.
Yeah.
I think she would. It's not VF, but you can avoid
only
it
one
pretty
part.
quickly.
Yeah.
It's only one part.
Yeah.
It's weird. He reminds me of the conversation with Quentin DePoe's movie where you were talking rubber and storytelling commentary and like the weirdness baked into this movie that is you think it's going to be. It's not quite as weird.
But here's the thing, right? So you watch. I mean, I haven't seen Deerskin, but you watch a Quentin DePoe film, and you know they all feel like this is all in line. These all track.
Yeah.
The weird thing about The Dead Don't Die is, I recognize Jim Jarmusch in this movie, and it does a lot of Jim Jarmushy things, but it doesn't feel at all like any other Jim Jarmusch movie. It almost feels like a guy trying to make a Jim Jarmusch movie, and that makes me love it even more.
Yeah. It's an interesting movie.
Yeah. And, you know, like, he happily just drops things. You know, like, we're following these people. Yeah, nah.
They're gone now.
They're gone now. And not like they were just eaten. No, they're just, you never see them again. Yeah. And Caleb Landry Jones, you know, he runs this gas station / comic book store / horror paraphernalia store.
Yeah. And
his interaction with Selena Gomez, it's like, it fills me with butterflies and rainbows and sparkly
he's
things.
becoming one of my favorite characters.
I love him.
He's
love
great.
him. Love him. So, yeah, The Dead Don't Die.
That's a good
pick. My number 7 is gonna be Happy Death Day to You.
Yeah.
Sequel to a movie that came out the previous year, or was it the year before that? That we here at the podcast highly endorse. It picks up immediately after the events of the first film, And I'm not going to spoil it for those who haven't seen it. Firstly, you should definitely check it out. And if you haven't seen Happy Death Day, the first one, please check that out. But the sequel picks up right after it, and it does that thing that not to the extreme, the thing that Aliens does from Alien, where it kind of shifts it tonally, it almost kind of shifts genres, whereas Alien was a straight up horror movie, and then James Cameron comes in and makes a sci-fi horror action movie. Death Day, A Happy Death Day to You does something similar, again, although not as extreme, in that you do have the slasher element that's in the first film, but the reasoning behind the time loop gimmick that is in the first film, which is also introduced again in this follow-up, we get an explanation for that, and that kind of dips its foot into another genre. And so the mixing of those also complete with what I think is a pretty fun and smart script and some unexpected character work. You'll hear Brian talk about the movie because of some that unexpected, that heartwarming, some very emotional stuff going on with the main character, and an examination of what we are willing to do and sacrifice to get back a little bit of time with people who are close to us, and throw all those things together and you get a movie that in this day and age of these Blumhouse movies and things like that, to me they can either be good to okay, but this one comes off great. Like I really feel like it sets itself apart from a lot of the stuff that was in theaters this year. We had some other PG-13 horror movies like Escape Room and stuff like that. Happy Death Day and its sequel, I feel like are elevate themselves above your typical
and they make you excited for a third film. Like, I want a third movie.
Oh man, the way that this one ends, give me that like right now. I hope we get one. I would not mind, because we don't have our annual Saw anymore. I would not mind an annual Happy Death Day as long as they keep thinking of creative ways to continue the story. The lead characters in the film, the lead actor, she's great in it. And the love story that develops and the uniqueness of that love story and how it's handled both in the first film but also in the second film, and how it grows from there and what they do with it. I found it really fun. I don't know, it's just a fun movie. I was excited, like I said, going into it. I was excited to see it, and it delivered on what I wanted. It just didn't make my top 10 because there were several other films. There were 10 other films that just beat it out for whatever reason. But I would highly recommend you check it out if you haven't seen it. Happy Death Day to you too.
Yeah.
Brian, your number 6.
Six. Final round of this episode.
Yes.
I may be talking about that movie next week, maybe.
Yeah.
Ew.
Really?
Maybe. We'll see. I'm still rearranging.
It's fluid. It's a fluid
more
process.
Brian promises.
It's a fluid
More
process.
Brian promises. Yeah.
Okay, so number 6, last one for this part, is a movie I just saw recently that's on Amazon Prime. And I know you guys saw it and spoke highly of it, so I wanted to catch it. And it's Brittany Runs a Marathon.
Yay! Feel good film.
Yeah, man, I really dug this movie. Jillian Bell is amazing in this because I've only was familiar with her in like bit parts, whether it be 22 Jump Street or what's the Christmas movie she did with Seth Rogen?
The Night Before.
The Night Before, which is like I should know that because that's like my annual Christmas movie.
I
So you
still haven't
say.
seen it.
Have you
That
not?
movie was so
No.
good. That movie was so good.
Better choices.
Brad might enjoy that.
Yeah.
But Jillian Bell, I thought, was amazing in this, and there's so many different levels to her acting that she portrays. Like just seeing her struggling and the disappointments and the things that she has to go through. As far as like she plays a woman, Brittany, in the title of the film, who decides to run the New York City Marathon, and she's not in the best health. And the thing that really grabbed me about this movie was just like showing her journey of getting to that point where she can run the marathon, but not just in the physical part of it, but just mentally, emotionally, like her dealing with her own like self-worth, her low self-esteem. She lives with this roommate who's kind of like this Instagram model, and it's that whole idea of the pressures of the internet and the pressures of social media and trying to put on this basically facade and living up to that. And and it's like once she starts to kind of gain a little bit more self-esteem for herself, like in how her roommate tries to keep bringing her down a peg. And I don't know, I just found a lot of that stuff and a lot of her journey relatable, especially certain parts of the film where you start to kind of see her push people away that are trying to help her. When I've been through that in my life as well, where because of that low self-esteem, you reject people who are trying to genuinely do nice things for you, and she just couldn't accept that. And it was great to just see that turning point, especially in the third act of the film, where she started to open up. She started to kind of break down those walls and be a little bit more vulnerable and allow people to connect with her. And it's such a beautiful movie. And then to find out that this is based on like a real story, a real person, just a fascinating movie that really surprised me. I genuinely was moved by this movie. So yeah, it's a great movie. Right now on my list is number 18. So as soon as I saw it, I just kept thinking about it. I was like, yeah, this is definitely in my top 25.
Did it make you want to run?
That's interesting. That's interesting because I almost kind of put myself in the same predicament as Brittany, because I get those urges, but then a lot of times I stop myself because I never feel like I'm gonna follow through with it. So I just say, well, why even start?
Right, I have the same attitude.
You know, so it's like, but I don't know.
Plus,
like,
she hurts herself running, so that's like, she makes running look really ouchy.
Yeah. I don't know if I could run. I've never been like a runner, but just starting to be more physical, like just staying in the gym.
I'm thinking of getting a trainer. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
You can't afford that.
Could you get a trainer like once a month?
I mean, you can get a trainer just for a certain period of time, whether it be for like a month. Like you see the trainer like maybe.
And then I go, can you give me homework for the rest of my life?
You could. I mean, they give you like a diet plan, and then once you stop seeing them, you just keep following through with whatever regimen they give you.
Okay.
You could
and
do
they wouldn't look down at me for that? They
No,
don't
I
think
mean,
that it's a forever relationship?
Your money spends.
We're really seeing who I am as a person, where I'm like, I won't feel indebted to this person for my whole life. They just continue to get $60.
Yeah. No,
all
you're
of the
paying
time?
them, so they're not going to, like,
Okay.
yeah.
They're not Netflix.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Well, the gym keeps collecting money, even though I have not been seeing them.
Same. I'm like, oh God, another 20 came out. I haven't been this month.
Damn, you don't cancel that shit. All right, Billy, your
No,
number
don't cancel
6.
it. Be the person you want to be.
Yes,
Number
yes.
6. Yeah, I always am with movies like Brittany runs a marathon. I gotta wait for other people to see it. I don't care for how a lot of movies handle those issues.
Yeah.
And
This is way better than you think.
Yeah.
It will not, it's not what you think it is.
Okay. Because I don't have faith in them. I think people. Yeah. Sorry. Anyways,
You don't
I
have to go
thoughts.
there, Billy. It's okay.
I have thoughts, you guys. Apparently, I have thoughts and feelings about this movie I haven't seen. Stop looking at me. Number 6. So I talk a lot about independent movies. You
do?
I do from time to time. Brad's whatever. Just fucking move on. It might as well just put
I'm
that
here
as
to-
a preference.
I just want to put your movie in my checklist.
Well, then my number 6 is Arctic.
Oh, nice.
So Brad can fill his note out. Now I will
Thank you.
introduce it.
Arctic?
Yeah, Arctic. So
Artik.
Yeah. What's that? How do you say that dude's name? It's like Tom...
Jerry D'Angelo.
No, well, Jerry D'Angelo was on the chat cast. He plays the lead, heavy kind of in Arctic.
Yeah.
But the director is Tom Bocci. Something. I'm not
You
gonna
should
try.
have this brought up on your list.
No, it's on mine. It's
Don't ask me to do your
Skronsky.
Wikipedia.
Well, I knew that you had talked to him, so I didn't know.
No,
if
I
you had
didn't talk
done
to him.
the-
I talked to Jerry D'Angelo.
Yeah, but I mean for the Jerry D'Angelo.
Yeah, I forgot
conversation.
everything about
Okay.
Arctic.
Excellent.
Jesus.
Okay. So, anyways, Arctic.
What is it?
So Arctic, I would talk about. So like the idea in M. Night Shyamalan's like Mr. Glass, right, of the guy who wants to find heroism in the world, and so he is willing to do whatever it takes in order to go put somebody through the crucible to cause a hero to rise. It's sort of a take on that story.
Kinda.
Kind of. but also kind of not. So there's a guy who he's fascinated by comic books and comic book stories and people standing up against the awfulness in the world, and he tests people to see if they are good people or if they are bad people, and he does it through torture and murder, and he is just an awful human being. And so, but like in the movie, you see his character as like a monolith of a man and powerful and just intimidating
and a tower.
And Brad said when he met him at the Winchester for the interview, he was a wee man. It was shocking to me how they filmed him, because I would have thought this motherfucker is 6'8", maybe was gonna be a pro wrestler, decided to do acting instead, and Brad was like, he was like 5'6", 5'7".
Yeah, he's a skinny tiny guy.
Yeah, he's a small guy.
Yeah. But I think the story's interesting. It's brutal. It's very mean. There's like the guy has child slaves running his farm. So there's a lot of awfulness baked into this story. But like my reaction when I was watching it was, at the end I was like, God damn it, I want to make a movie, because this was amazing. It's this idea of like independent film where you make a movie with a small budget that has big ideas, and you aim within what you can do, and you hit just a fucking home run with what you wind up on the screen. Everything is gold, and everything looked great. All the gags look great. All the cinematography looks great. The set looks great. The acting is awesome. And it just all came together into this magical thing that became way more than the sum of its parts for me. And I don't know, if it just struck me at the right moment. If I was feeling angry or bitter, and I like, that was a cathartic experience for me, and that's what pulled it through for me. But man, it just knocked me off my socks, and I found it to be very inspiring. I found it to be very interesting, and boy, just full of passion for independent film. I haven't watched that movie, but I don't really see anybody talking about it.
You saw it too, Brian?
Yeah, it was at, what's the film?
Genre
Blast. So
Yeah.
I was up there, and me and Brad watched that movie, and we did my first chat cast.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was cool. But yeah, the main guy, and watching it in the theater when me and Brad were watching it, because like that one shot where you see him from outside and he's walking up to the screen door, he just evokes this imposing presence.
Because we met him right before the screening.
Yeah,
and we were like, is that that guy?
Is that the guy? And then, because you're right. He's like he's stocky, but he's short,
and he's putting on like this Bane-like voice.
Yeah, and I'm just like, wow. Like, so yeah, you're right. Like, just the way it was shot and filmed, like to make him look that way.
He's got costuming where he's got like a leather arm brace that he wears. That it's almost like, think of like the strapping like you would for a gun holster, but there's a leather arm brace.
Or it's like Spartacus.
Yeah, like a Spartacus kind of thing. And there's shots of him where like he's got his arm out and is like powerful and like holding somebody, and you're like, this man is a titan.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
He's weight.
Yeah.
He's like a foot and a half shorter than I am.
I mean, movie magic.
So yeah, but it's movie magic. But I don't think it's not just the cinematography. Like Jerry D'Angelo's performance in it.
Oh, absolutely.
Is phenomenal.
Yeah. He is really
it's
good.
It's great.
Yeah.
So the story may be too violent for you. I don't know. It's hard to recommend movies that are so bitter and angry and full of some of the awfulness of humanity in it. But boy, did I enjoy it.
Okay. Wife Dork, your number 6?
Yes.
I mean, 5?
It's my number 5.
Yes.
Because I'm going 1 to 10.
Yes.
Okay. But it is Richard Stanley's Color Out of Space.
You like that movie?
It is. Yeah, I did. I really liked this movie. I saw it at Fantastic Fest. And Brad is serious.
Damn.
I like things in it.
To me, what I really liked about it was I just thought it was visually stunning. So the movie is about a meteorite that crashes on Nicolas Cage's hobby farm, and it starts infecting the ground, and then it starts infecting his family. But like the way it deals with the idea of like evolution and genetic poisoning and things like that, where it's just like it's simultaneously really visually stunning and gross. Like, so it's beautiful and it's so ugly. And I don't know. I just found it really compelling. And I think that Nicolas Cage gives a really Nicolas Cage performance that blurs the lines between, like, is Nicolas Cage being poisoned or is he just acting? I can't tell.
God damn.
But to me, I think the really interesting story behind this film is the way Richard Stanley, as a filmmaker, is grappling with the works of H.P. Lovecraft. Because H.P. Lovecraft is a huge figure in social science fiction, and he also is a jingoistic, racist, monster and bad person. And Richard Stanley disposes of that right away when one of the first characters you meet is a person of color who is a scientist who just so happened to graduate from Miskatonic University. So right away, like, Richard Stanley is going like, I like this. I separate myself from that. Like, and it's a conversation about how we engage with art. Because we approach media, movies, fiction, everything, and we go like, I'm filtering it through myself and it's changing me as a person. And now does that change made in me now associate me with this garbage person? Can I take what I like and point at what I don't like and go like, that is evil? And he also makes this an extremely personal story. We had the opportunity to interview him at Fantastic Fest. And has that chat cast been released?
It won't be released until the film is, which is in January.
What? Oh, this is also not a 2019 film.
Whoops.
But that's okay. It's not my top 10.
Whoops.
You do you, Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay. But, yes. So you have that to look forward to. But he was also going through a lot of personal stuff.
Yeah.
And, for example, his mother was, whom he's very close to, and who is a very influential figure. She was dying of cancer. And so she was grappling with, there is something in me that is not malicious. It doesn't hate me. It's not in itself evil, but it is killing me. And you see that a lot in this film with the mother character. And you see some of Richard Stanley's pain and process through the handling of that character. And I think that it's really well done. And I found it really moving.
I think it is one of those cases where our interview with Richard Stanley helps you appreciate the art itself, like a little context.
Brad did not like, there are certain teen characters and Brad hates teen acting. And he doesn't,
Brad
he
hates teenagers, period.
Yeah. So like, to me, I feel like Brad, not like the color from Outer Space, he has a little taint.
Oh.
You got a little taint,
He's got a
buddy?
little taint. And he's letting his little AB taint.
My taint is little too, Brad.
Spoil. Mine is vast.
Oh. Brian has a big gooch too.
When you meet a lady, you want a vast.
Brian
taint.
Brian has a big gooch too. Show him yours. Show her your taint, Brian.
So to me, I think that Brad, like, some of what he brings to the film is unfair. I think it's a good movie. I think that it's I think it marries the B movie elements of like a kind of like a monster film, social science fiction film, with creating something that I think is visually stunning and intellectually compelling.
All right, I'm gonna check it out then.
Teens need to find their way too.
Yes.
We hope they are the future.
I like teen movies.
No, what?
I just said I like Porky's. Was that on air?
Is that if there's a glory hole in it? it. It was.
Oh, right.
Brad's
I get
there.
Brad, you're number 6. Look, I can talk about taints and gooches, but Lisa can't talk about glory holes.
Oh my
I'm
God.
a hypocrite. I ain't shit.
My number 6 on my not top 10 is my favorite documentary of the year. It's a film that I saw at Sundance. I'm on the verge of sneezing, guys.
Do it.
And like
Just
I'm
do it.
trying to
Just
get
let
the
it go.
sneeze out
Do
before I
it.
talk, but I can't. Okay. I saw this. Oh my God. I saw this film at Sundance.
Brad is allergic to me talking about Color Out of Space.
I saw this film at Sundance.
Uh-huh.
And I enjoyed it, but it wasn't until I got to see it at the Udvar Hazy that I really fell in love with it. Saw it up on IMAX, and it is glorious. It is Apollo 11, directed by Todd Douglas Miller, and also edited by Todd Douglas Miller, which I think is very crucial as well. It follows, the Apollo 11 moon landing mission. We all know that quite well. What's great about the documentary is that it is told in archival fashion, and they don't include any narration. They don't include any interviews. Any voices you hear are of the era. News clips, radio communications between NASA and the astronauts.
I think all they added was graphics. There's some charts.
There
and
are
graphs.
some charts that they added, and they added a score
Yes.
by oh gosh, what's his name? I have it right
I'll
here.
look it up.
No, Matt Morton. Matt
Oh.
Morton, and it's maybe my favorite score of the year as well.
It's stunning.
It's stunning, and they had access to this 70mm footage that had never been released before, and they restored it, and it is stunning and gorgeous. And I think if you go into this documentary thinking you were going to watch a typical doc about the Apollo 11 mission, you might be disappointed or thrown off guard because it asks you to pay attention. And if you are not fully engaged with the material, like if you have your phone out or if you have a busy mind at the moment, you will not connect with it. But if you go, I am going to watch this inside look on the moon landing, edited through the lens of Todd Douglas Miller, the filmmaker, you're going to have a powerful experience. But you have to commit to it.
Like you started your little presentation
With a sneeze.
with a
On the verge,
sneeze,
which still has not come out.
by saying that we know the Apollo 11 moon landing.
Yeah.
But like I went into this film going like, oh, I know the broadest strokes. And what I found compelling about it is how much drama
Yeah.
they could bring to this.
Because it is told linear. Like it's told through like, it's happening. We're crossing the divide. We've launched through the atmosphere, and then this happens, and then this mistake happens, and then this mistake happens, and then hey, we made it. Oh crap! Now we got to get back.
It really highlights for as much work that went into the moon landing, we hadn't figured out phones really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Priorities.
Our televisions, they sucked.
Yeah.
They were trash.
Yeah.
And we went to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Priorities.
Yeah.
We hadn't figured out sunglasses yet. And we went to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's idiotic.
It's insane. It's insane.
And watching them do it, you know how the movie ends, and it's still terrifying.
Well, and that's what I loved about the IMAX experience because like you were like enveloped in the movie, and by the end of it, my heart is just beating.
They're doing math on paper.
Yeah, they're doing math on paper.
Who does that?
Yeah.
Can that even be done?
They're doing math with their brains.
They didn't even
What
have
a tremendous waste.
no Google.
Hopefully,
No Google.
that will come back periodically to the Smithsonian IMAX.
I've watched it at home, and it's still good and compelling,
It can't be
but
the same
you
way.
don't engage with it the same way. Yeah. So seek it out. Seek it out.
All right. For my number 6, we're going to continue with the theme of outer space.
Oh shit.
This is so my last film was one that I was happy to talk about. This was one of my cinematic disappointments. I wasn't able to enjoy Men in Black International the way that I thought. I tell you what, it's no secret. If you listen to a lot of the episodes prior to that movie's release, whenever I would talk about the trailer for that film, I was always happy and excited. The initial trailer comes out, and just the prospect of seeing Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson reunited on screen. Two great actors. Both have tremendous comedic timing, especially Chris Hemsworth. I would not know that I would fall in love with him through the MCU and through he is the funniest thing in the Ghostbusters. Paul Feig, how do you say his name?
Hurtful to women.
I'm sorry. He's the funniest thing though. He is I don't know, he's in a different movie. He's in a different zone in that movie. And he's great as Thor, but not just because of his comedy, but just his mix of his drama. He's able to go from being dramatic and sympathetic to being goofy and funny. But also, Tessa Thompson, she's having an amazing career. Just her work in most recently, what was it? Sorry to Bother You.
Yep.
And,
Yes.
Her work in the MCU and in Ragnarok as Valkyrie, her introduction as that character. I don't know. And then them two on screen in Ragnarok. So again, I was excited to see them work together.
Yeah.
The
Kumail Nanjiani.
Everybody has a bad day at work.
it for me, I think I can appreciate why some things now don't work for me, in that it just means to me, it feels like I'm growing as a person, as far as paying attention to our society and this paradigm shift in perspectives and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, and things that I used to not pay attention to or consider with regards to other people, other genders, other ethnicities, just other feelings. And so now, in the wake of the Me Too era, the Time's Up era, just being more conscious about the person next to you or on the other end of your keyboard or whatever. I find like going back to revisit older films, but like also newer films. Sometimes like we have stuff that comes out and I feel like it's tone deaf, unfortunately, and I find it surprising in this day and age when these topics are so prevalent and pushed to the forefront, that we have films that can kind of just not can kind of miss the mark. And I felt like this movie had several instances where that was the case, but also like the script wasn't as funny as I would like it to have been. And I felt like Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson were almost stifled in what they could do as far as their chemistry and riffing on one another, because they've worked together before. They have great chemistry and great back and forth.
It's crazy how boring this movie is.
And just the story. And unfortunately, I kind of thought about this prior to seeing it. Was trying to remain optimistic, but F. Gary Gray being attached to it, he hasn't been great to me since Friday.
Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think. Granted, I recognize
it's
how
good. I don't know
how
great,
good
but
that,
it's good.
I recognize how people receive that movie and how much they like it. I haven't thought about that movie since I saw it.
Well, that's true.
I like his big budget stuff, like The Italian Job, Straight Outta Compton. Those things just never really stuck with me. The Negotiator was fine, but I can't even remember. Like if he's done something else, I don't. Set It Off. But I don't know. Like I just felt like Men in Black International was. I don't know if it was just him not being ready for that type of film, or if it was studio.
He did Fast and the Furious, Fate the Furious right before that.
I don't know if it was he was not ready for that type of film, or if there was studio interference with that movie. But I felt like Men in Black didn't gel. Like you had a bunch of ingredients for a fun sci-fi comedy with some action in it, but it just didn't work out for me, and I was really saddened because again, I was truly excited. When we would do our most anticipated, and we would talk about what we were looking for too. I was always speaking highly of that trailer and giddy with excitement. I thought the trailer was funny. I got actual and genuine joy out of seeing like Tessa Thompson put on that suit and looked like she was ready to go to work. But ultimately the film just it just missed the mark. So
dog do.
It was so much promise. Like Men in Black is a franchise that I continue to root for every time something new comes out.
It kicked off still awesome, Billy.
I know.
Kicked us off.
Men in Black 1. I love that movie and I want it to succeed. And the promise of Men in Black International and what that could have done for the franchise and how it could have turned those first few movies into a Fast and Furious franchise that explodes out into its own thing and its own weirdness. And to just watch all of that crumble in front of you and no, this is gonna be another missed start. So we'll probably get another Men in Black movie and it's gonna be something different.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to try again and see if it catches fire. And it bums me out when that happens.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is gonna do it for part 1 of our not top 10.
Way to end us on a downer, Darren.
Sorry, but I promise things will pick up in the next episode.
Not with me though, because I've done one uplifting, one devastating.
One uplifting, devastating. So
no,
we're good for we do for uplifting.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh, I've somehow fucked up my pattern then. That's devastating.
So when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, or on the next episode, we will have our picks for 5 through 1, and Lisa will have 6 through 10 for you.
And so will Billy.
And so will Billy.
Wait, what?
Exactly.
Didn't you do your 1 to 10? Oh, you flipped your numbers like a conformist.
Yes. Well, don't call me a how dare you? Conformist.
All right. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of whatever, and be on the lookout for part 2. And until next time.